little bit later this afternoon, even, Morning Joe and some of the others at MSNBC who are very familiar with crime in D.C., they have to admit, yeah, we see some things that we shouldn't see, and it wouldn't be a bad thing if they clean it up. We have, who was it, Fred? I'm not going to play this one right now, but there was somebody that admitted, maybe it was Scarborough or Chris Matthews, said, yeah, I had a reporter that basically told me that, he gets it.
Scarborough.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Scarborough says the reporter does his report and doesn't mention anything about that, tilts it in the other direction. So this John Oliver stuff, this is crazy. Chuck Schumer is one of the, most esteemed members of the Senate. He has been the Senate majority leader a couple of times, depending on who's in control. And, we hear these stories about Trump all the time, making things up, pulling things out of thin air. They rip him everywhere that they can. I think it's fair to say and safe to say that a lot of politicians do that. But John Oliver is making the case, and I looked this up. Apparently this is a thing, although it has not gotten a lot of coverage. And I can make a strong case for, if the story that you're about to hear, that I will share with you, was true of John Thune, who's the current Senate Majority Leader. Most people don't know his name, probably. Schumer's been around for a long time. But any example that you would want to use of someone, whether it would be Kevin McCarthy when he was still in office or someone like that, and if they were making up a story like the one that I'm about to play to you, I think it would get a fair amount of coverage. But for whatever reason, John Oliver decides to go down this path about this imaginary family that Chuck Schumer has kind of invented. And not only invented, but he's used them in speeches and in his book multiple dozens, if not hundreds of times.
I actually want to talk less about Chuck Schumer himself and more about two of his favorite people, Joe and Eileen Bailey. They're a couple that throughout Schumer's career, he has talked about a lot. The Baileys have guided Chuck Schumer's political life, which is a little weird given they don't exist.
Yeah, they're not even real. They're not real at all. So John Oliver goes on this tangent and starts kind of ticking off the things that have happened. And there's some Chuck Schumer audio here.
Middle-class couple in Massapequa, which is a suburb on Long Island.
Joe and Eileen Bailey, this middle-class couple, they bought into Reagan Republicanism in 1980. Joe and Eileen are worried about losing their jobs or their friends' jobs.
The Baileys really don't believe in trickle-down. They don't believe in a whole lot of government spending, but they believe in tax breaks for kids to go to college. He's an insurance adjuster and lives in the New York suburbs. By New York standards, he makes $50,000 a year. If he lived in the middle of the country, he'd make 40. Wife works in a medical office. She makes about 20. She might make 15 elsewhere. And, I have guided my political life through the Baileys.
So he has. That's the audio that you hear is archive audio. It goes back a little way. You can see it on the clip that it was, a younger Chuck Schumer, and the video looks older. But he apparently, and I can ask Brian about this in a few minutes. Brian's from Massapequa, so he may know the story of the Baileys. And again, this is just kind of pulled out of thin air.
Schumer first introduced the world to the Baileys in his 2007 book, Positively American, Winning Back the Middle-Class Majority, One Family at a Time. In it, he mentions the Baileys an astonishing 265 times in 264 pages. Whoa! But he'd apparently been talking about them for years before the book was published. One of his former spokespeople said he's always asking, what would the Baileys think? And to be fair, Schumer acknowledges that some may find this a little weird.
Yeah, so he even says that the staffers have called him out a little bit.
Ask my staff. I've been talking about and talking to the Baileys for 15 years. I have conversations with them. One of my staffers once said I had imaginary friends to the press. Got me in some trouble. But these people are real, and I respect them, and I really love them, and I care about them.
Okay, sure, but they're literally not real, Chuck. But
are you kidding me?
You can understand the potential utility of creating a prototypical voter in your head. This goes way beyond that, because Schumer's given the Baileys an unnecessarily detailed backstory. For instance, he said Joe takes off his cap and sings along with the national anthem before the occasional Islanders game.
I mean, if you would have this in any other circumstance, why this wouldn't get attention from, other people? Because it doesn't seem like he's using them as some sort of example of the perfect American family or a middle-class family representative of that. He's trying to play them off as real.
Joe takes off his cap and sings along with the national anthem before the occasional Islanders game. Okay. And when their daughter Meghan, they've got kids, by the way, told Eileen a friend was caught cheating on a quiz. Eileen was appalled because lying is not tolerated in the house ever. Also, Eileen apparently helps with the clothing drive at her church, and her father had a prostate cancer scare a few years ago. Again, this is a made-up family. None of these people exist. But wait, I'm still not done. Apparently, Joe Bailey would never have a goatee. They watch Sex and the City and Desperate Housewives, though Joe pretends not to like either show. They think most baseball players probably take steroids, and if they were to ever go out to a Chinese restaurant, they would order Kung Pao chicken. That is a J.R.R. Tolkien level of gratuitous backstory, and I don't say that lightly.
Yeah, because look, they rip Trump for doing this all the time, and apparently Schumer's been doing this for years.
The Baileys do seem to have a lot of sway over Schumer's politics, as he brought them up when discussing everything from the 2008 financial crisis to cybersecurity, which he framed as protecting the security the Baileys feel when they go online to buy birthday presents. And to hear Schumer tell it, the Baileys' views can be complicated.
The Baileys are not anti-immigration, but they are anti-illegal immigration. They really dislike the Enron executives who stole money, but they hate the people who burn the flag even more. They are pro-choice. They understand that a fundamental decision like that should be made by the individual, but they're glad their church isn't.
Really?
I mean, I'm in a situation right now where I don't know even how much to believe on this, because that is really detailed. And you would think, now, here's the thing. If you Google this right now, because when Fred played the original Bite to me, I'm like, I've never heard of this before. There has to be some other coverage out there. There's really not. I mean, all you can see is list after list, or I mean, link after link is what I really meant to say, of John Oliver ripping on these people. We'll ask Brian about it coming up here. But I thought that was fascinating. Now, in a fair media world, someone would run with that story, like the New York Times or Politico or another one of the leading political outlets would say, hey, this is kind of interesting, and they would highlight it and they would expose it. That's in a fair world. It will not happen in the world we live in right now.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident on southbound 270 near Ladue Road, and it looks like the left lane is blocked. Traffic, of course, is stacked up behind that. And other than that, it's not too bad. There's a little bit of volume on southbound 55 headed down toward Bates. On the Illinois side, eastbound 64, we've got road work, and it's causing delays between 157 and 159. But other than that, we look pretty good. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, baths, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
If you need help in St. Louis when it comes to real estate, I want to guide you into my friends Mark and Neil Gelman at the Gelman team with eXp Realty. The market is always changing. Fred and I were even talking about this. We're trying to get either Mark or Neil to come on here. It's been about 6 or 7 weeks just to kind of talk about where the market is right now at the end of the summer. They've had a very successful summer, but they'll also be the first to admit that things have changed out there. If you're listing at the right price, if you're marketing the right way, you're going to sell your home a lot faster and maybe still above asking price. And they have example after example of customers that have raved about the Gelmans because they know how great they've done and that the work that they've done here even recently to sell homes in many different areas. If you can hear my voice, they can help you across the St. Louis region. If you'd like to use this very cool tool that they have, which is online at thegelmanteam.com. It's at the top of the page. It says, how much is your home really worth? You can find out for free what essentially you would list that home for with the Gelmans if you chose to do it today or tomorrow or this week. And this is a free service. They're not going to sell any information. You do have to enter your address. There's a pop-up that comes up, but they'll give you a price that's very realistic. You want to take it to the next level, they'll absolutely help you with that. They're online at thegelmanteam.com. Again, check out that tool. It's pretty awesome. It's really interesting software, and it's not just a guesstimate. It's very accurate. Mark and Neil will tell you tell you that for sure. Check out the Gelman team. Tell them that I sent you along. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
I'm Dr. Nick Barnes at Health From Within Family Chiropractic in Rock Hill. At Health From Within, our mission is to transform the way you manage your health by bringing you the truth about health and healing. We use proven techniques to remove interference in the nervous system and maximize health naturally, without drugs or surgery. Connect with me at healthfromwithinstl.com and join me for Maximize Living on this station every Sunday at 8 a.m. or download the Maximize Living podcast, healthfromwithinstl.com.
From politics to pop culture, Reardon breaks it all down. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sue, did you see, and I know you did, the Kennedy Center honors, which are maybe just a little bit than Joe Biden, different than Joe Biden or Barack Obama would pick. Trump picked the nominees, if you will, and I think we're going to feature that during Sue's News, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yes, it is.
We'll do that in the next hour on a Wednesday edition of Sue's News. Sounds like Sue might not do it, but now that I've said she's going to do it, she's going to do it.
I've got the names. I forgot to get the music.
No, I think we got it, though. I think we
okay.
took care of it. Yeah, somehow, some way. That's why I brought it up, because
great.
I saw it in the see, we just have to act like all this stuff comes together naturally. Brian Kilmeade is back with us this afternoon. It's been a little bit since I've caught up with Brian. How are you, Mr. Kilmeade? Good afternoon.
Oh, good, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well. Do you know anything, not to catch you off guard, but I just played this audio from John Oliver about Chuck Schumer making up this family, the Baileys, that are from Massapequa, New York. What the hell is that all about?
I mean, do you believe this might count? I mean, we started this year. We had last year, the serial killer, Massapequa.
That's right.
And then we have Massapequa has become a national story because we're trying to hold on to the name Chiefs because Indians like it. It's just that George Soros's group doesn't, and politically correct people are outraged by it. So that's in the middle again. And Seinfeld's always a big deal. Today, by the way, one of the key figures in one of the Seinfeld episodes, Al Bevilacqua, his gym teacher, who did the big race. If people remember Seinfeld well, he passed away, Al Bevilacqua did today. That's a side note. So Massapequa back in the news. Massapequa was also voted the #1 small town in America. So that jacked up prices. And now all of a sudden we find out about John Oliver. I thought, okay, he's just going to this is going to be their move to get rid of Chuck Schumer. I had no idea that for 20 years he's been using a fake family, the Baileys.
I mean, I just played all the audio, a good portion of what John Oliver did the other night, and it's quite stunning. It really is. And what I said is, in a fair media world, the New York Times or the Atlantic or someone like that would pick up on this and maybe do a story, because we know damn well if the parties were flipped, they'd be all over this right now.
Yeah, when they found out that Trump in the 1980s pretended to call up Page Six, I think, and with a different voice, as if he was his publicist because he was looking for some publicity when he was in his 30s. My goodness, they still talk about that.
Yeah.
But you have a guy for 30 years or 20 years have been talking about, well, before I weighed in on this issue, I went to the Baileys of Massapequa, and he makes $50,000 a year in a job, and she makes $20,000 a year, and just really specific things.
Yeah.
And it's totally made up. So why would you ever believe him again in anything?
Yeah, one of them watches Desperate Housewives. The other doesn't. It's just crazy. It really is. That really caught me off guard. But let's talk about a few other things here. What are your thoughts on everything that's happening with the DC police takeover? There's an interesting media angle to this as well, because there are folks on the left that are making this about racism, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with Trump. But there's a few, even on MSNBC and CNBC, that have had to admit, yeah, you know what? DC's got problems. Maybe this will help a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, there's no question. DC's got problems. And the thing that's so jarring is in these beautiful neighborhoods, a block from the White House one day, the next day it's in Georgetown. I got a story I'm filling in for Laura Ingraham tonight. Kevin Corke, one of our great reporters, was held up right as he got to his car, right after work, in a beautiful area, 1 block from Union Station in Washington, D.C., and they put a gun right to his face. And they said, give me everything you got. He gives them everything he's got, but they left his Apple Watch, or they took his Apple Watch. He was able to track it. They find the kids. And guess what? Nothing happens. And he gets his personal insurance jacked up because he was mugged. So think about this. The perpetrators, they never get the second guy. They got the first guy, and he gets out with no charges. So that's the problem. There are no charges for criminals.
Yeah, we had a situation we've been talking about here where these group of 14-year-old kids last week, they armed carjacking of an Uber driver, and they're arrested, they're found, they're pulled in, they're released to their parents. We have this point system here in Missouri where certain felonies qualify as different level of points. You get to 15 points, then you can be held and not released to your parents. Well, they're released to their parents, they go back out, they then carjack, they think it's the same kids, a Lyft driver the next day. And there's limited things that they can do. And this is some of what we're hearing from Judge Janine in D.C. as well. It's kind of insane, but that's where, the post-Mike Brown and the post-George Floyd era has taken us. Another topic, and this is interesting. I think you talked about this just a little bit earlier this afternoon. I was going to bring it up in my next hour, my 4 o'clock hour. But you have in a New Jersey suburb now some laws that have been passed that show that the parents might be held responsible for some of the things that their kids do. Now, I have a little mixed feelings on this because I think as a parent and as a parent of kids who are older and younger, I got a 28, 25, and a 10-year-old, I think I did things when I was a kid that I certainly wouldn't want my parents held responsible for. But on the other hand, we've also had situations in St. Louis where we've had some of these crazy things in the street, sometimes violent, and the parents are basically dropping them off or not keeping track of their kids. So maybe there is merit to that. This is in Gloucester Township in New Jersey.
Yeah, so here's the thing, Mark. It's chronic. It's not one-off. It's not I had a bad day. It's not I got in a fight and both people are wrong. This has to be repeated offenses, and they have to get tons of warning. And when it gets to the point where these kids are a menace, I don't care if you have 3 great kids and this kid might be hyperactive or has ADD. If he's a menace to society, what choice do you have if you are the mayor of that city? Especially when he's playing off the fact that there was a brawl with 500 teams. 500 teams.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Earlier, and that's what caused it.
Yeah, well, and the problem is, I think I don't know if parents would plead guilty, but getting a jury to say that the parents are responsible. I think in many cases, maybe they do need to be held responsible, but that sounds like a big, big hornet's nest to open up. But when you have that many kids involved, I would understand it. What are your expectations for the Trump-Putin meeting in Alaska, Brian Kilmeade?
Well, I love what Trump said today. He said, well, hope to get enough going to have another one. And I want the next one to be right away. And if they want me there, they want me there. But the next one, hopefully, will be with Zelensky. We want to get this process going. And think about this. He just relieved so much pressure to have a takeaway from this, something substantial. So now if he goes in and they sit there and they put up the maps and they talk about different areas and they agree on a ceasefire in a few days, they're moving the process. His goal is not to hit him with maximum sanctions. His goal is to get the best deal possible for Ukraine in an impossible situation while trying to stop a war that could drag everybody down for months, if not years. Now, I don't know the exact, how oppressed their economy is teetering. They're running out of people to draft. They're having North Koreans not only fight for them, but work in their factories because they don't have enough people to work in their factories. So they're in trouble. So what Trump is going in there, instead of saying, shake my hand and here's a new treaty, he's saying, let's make some progress. Let's go. Let's get this done. Forget about posturing. And if Putin comes in and says, yeah, you already have my demands, I don't know why we're doing this, he's going to hit him with sanctions. And I have Donald Trump on tomorrow in the morning.
Oh, nice.
At 10 a.m.
Great.
Yeah. So, and I was looking at different things to ask him. And as I'm working on questions, I look up and he's answering them. So a lot of things just got answered today. Are there ramifications going in? Will there be a price to pay if Putin doesn't come to play? And the answer is yes.
Yeah, I mean, to be a fly on the wall in that room when that meeting takes place, I think it will be fascinating. I was going to ask you about the Sunday night show, but you got anything else cooking for tonight? I leave the station right at 6 o'clock. I listen to Laura's show quite a bit. What am I going to hear when I get off the air tonight? Outside of what you pointed out.
We're going to talk about the craziness with Mondami. We're going to also talk about the latest with Russia. We got Brent Sadler there. We also have Robert Davi about suddenly the political correctness is gone and Hollywood's benefiting, even though they're the least worthy. You're now allowed to get this, hire white people to do commercials. Who would have thought? And the jeans commercial and all the controversy around it, and the fact that there was no cancellation, instead there was blowback for people trying to cancel her. To me, that shows that we're coming out of it, and Trump deserves credit. So we'll talk about that. Then Sunday night, amongst my guests is Gary Brecka. We're going to do the Russian story. I'm going to do that first half of the show live. And I'm also going to have Senator Scott Brown, who wants to be the next senator of New Hampshire. And we're going to also have Jim Jordan. So it's going to be a fun show.
I was up early. I wanted to mention one more thing. You had this kid on this morning, this 18-year-old kid. I don't even know if he's out of high school. He's got a taco stand, and he sounded like he had more business experience than most people probably twice his age. It was incredible.
Yeah, when he got a mentor that walked up, was impressed with his 18-year-old. So he foregoes college, opens up a taco place right by the Nets Arena in Brooklyn, and it ends up being this huge success. So we want to highlight young people, the entrepreneurs. We're sick of telling the bad stories every day.
I loved it.
So we want to talk about this next generation of achievers.
I love it. And he was captivating to listen to and inspirational for sure. Brian Kilmeade, I'll be checking out at 6 o'clock tonight. Thank you. Have a great week.
Go get it.
All right.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an issue on 270 southbound. Looks like it's cleared the accident. The crews have cleared the accident closer to Ladue Road. But now we have one just really close to Olive, and the two left lanes are blocked there. We've got a parking lot jam back through Page. Northbound drivers are slowing for a look. There's also an accident reported eastbound 6440 just east of 170. That's causing a delay. And it looks like 141 is pretty slow too, southbound as you head for 64. Now, elsewhere, 55 is slow. That's the usual volume in the construction zone of Bates. 44 westbound, slowing at Bowles. 70 westbound, really not that bad. Some moderate volume, though, out at Highway A. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door, simply the finest when it comes to mirror glass and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service than at Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror Glass and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one who lives with you. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care, helping you with preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid weekly. This Medicaid program is available to eligible St. Louis residents. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 7,000 five-star Google reviews, we've perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. If you live in the St. Louis area, this service is available through Medicaid. And with our InstaPay app, caregivers can choose to get paid weekly. So go to freedomcare.com now, or for faster service, call 314-697-4912. 314-697-4912. That's 314-697-4912.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show at 3:35, sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Cutting through the spin. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Yeah, I find it very funny that J.B. Pritzker not only fancies himself a national political figure, like someone who could be president, but he gets that attention because he's got a big mouth and the lefties love him, like Stephen Colbert.
Everything's on the table. I mean, we got to fight fire with fire. They've frankly tossed the rule book out, and they're just acting in an unconstitutional fashion. And what we're going to have to do is whatever it takes to preserve democracy.
Yeah, it's always preserving democracy, says the guy in the most gerrymandered state probably in the entire nation. Now, he's talking about everything with the Texas Dems, who apparently, I think we heard yesterday that they were heading back to Texas to take the vote in the House. They voted in the Senate to pass the new districts.
The great heroes of the Texas House Democratic Caucus decided the only thing they could do in order to stop it was leave Texas. And where did they decide to come to? The safe haven of the state of Illinois, where we're going to protect them and take care of them.
Now, I did not see that segment. I think it was from Friday night, but I would bet you a fair amount of money that there was zero pushback from Colbert. Colbert never probably said, because look, it would be a fair question in any interview, setting with J.B. Pritzker to say, yeah, but, have you looked at your map and what the Democrats did in Illinois? Because it's pretty bad. That's where I, struggle with some of this stuff, because when they're in power, and they always are in Illinois, they do as much as they possibly can to protect these seats. Right now, we have Mark Batinick on the phone. He was a state rep from 2015 to 2023. He was the House Republican floor leader for a while. He's a policy advisor for the Illinois Policy Institute. Mark, how are you? Welcome to the show here in St. Louis at 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm great to be talking across the river to the great free state of Missouri.
I say that a lot about Missouri, comparing it to Illinois. I grew up the first 14 years of my life in the north suburbs of Chicago, and I'm a proud Missourian. I've lived here more than any other place. I've lived in Wisconsin as well, and we don't typically do a lot of the nanny state nonsense that you do in Illinois. But one of the problems is we have Republican majorities. We've had Democrat governors and attorney generals and even some members of the legislature in leadership positions, but it's been a while. But there is just no grasp of any kind of control by Republicans in Illinois, mainly because of Cook County, right?
Yeah, that's obviously a big part of it. And obviously, JB's dollars has a big part of it. But has the bigger part of it? Corruption and gerrymandering. I mean, you have a state that's, 44, 45% Republican, yet we have 17, 18% of the congressional seats because of the exact same thing that J.B. Pritzker hypocritically says he's fighting against, which is, you're getting my collar burning, and it burns a lot, but there's a lot we can go through.
Well, let's go through it because you wrote a piece about this in I saw it on Real Clear Politics. Now, one of your perspectives was, and I hope you're right about this, that he is losing favor with Illinois voters, but he's sort of focusing on this national run right now. I mean, those of us who see him on a regular basis, and look, I don't cover Illinois politics nearly as much as I do Missouri politics, but you can see the bozo that's leading Illinois on a regular basis because he opens his big mouth and he wants the attention and he gets the attention. Look, he's on Colbert, he's on The View, he's on these other shows, right?
Yeah, but this is the thing. He's being the anti-Trump in everything. I could give you a ton of examples. He's calling Trump's tariffs a tax on the working class. Well, we're not seeing that in the numbers, number one. But number two, you know what's a tax on the working class? Doubling the gas tax and then having an annual automatic increase of the gas tax, increasing the cell phone tax till we're number one in the nation. We are now the number one highest property taxes in the nation. Those are taxes on the working class, and those are things that are happening on his watch. He's talking about the LA riots and about how it was bad that Trump brought in the National Guard. Well, if there are riots in my city, I'd want some help pushing those riots. He's calling for protests and speeches and disruption. You know what? We just want to get to the airport. We don't want people blocking the highway. We want those people arrested and put away for a long time. So he's doing things to pander to the left to try to win a Democratic primary for president, kind of not noticing that it has a general election for governor coming up. And his poll numbers are finally, since the first time I've been paying attention to it, are now upside down because people are paying attention to the fact in Illinois that, hey, I don't want protests in the street. I don't want all this stuff. I want my property tax lowered. I want safer streets. And he's not providing those things.
Even on the, and this is true with Gavin Newsom and some of the other leading Democrats nationally. I mean, he's way on the other side of the trans issue, even though a majority of Democrats, still think that it's a problem that biological boys play against girls in sports. But he's gone out there on that tangent and a bunch of other things. And you even pointed out, look, Kamala Harris won Illinois, but she won with 53.4% of the vote. Democrats occupy 82% of the congressional seats. And I don't know how that, matches up with the Illinois numbers in Springfield, but probably pretty close if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. There's some pretty horribly gerrymandered seats. They have a supermajority in both the House and the Senate. So the Republicans in Illinois can't stop anything because of gerrymandering. And I'm sure you know the history of corruption that's happened in Illinois. And the corruption raised the money that gave them control that allowed them to gerrymander. So it's not like anybody on the Democratic side really has clean hands on this. The seats that they got, many of them were ill-gotten. But for somebody that talks about protecting the democracy, let me tell you how partisan J.B. Pritzker is. They do capital projects in every budget, and they only give money to Democrats. So last time I checked, Republicans in Republican districts and Democrats who live in Republican districts pay taxes to the state of Illinois. But when they do capital projects like, hey, you need a road fix, you need a stoplight over here at a dangerous intersection, all these sorts of things, there's capital money that's doled out. It's only doled out to Democratic state reps and legislators. And this is a guy that is incredibly hypocritical. I don't know how difficult it's going to be for the national media to pick up on that. But, from gerrymandering to protecting democracy, he really doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Well, I still think, and I think he was even in the news the last couple of days, I used to talk quite a bit about Mike Madigan and the situation with him. And then finally, that guy controlled the legislature for what? Literally 3.5 decades, if not 4 decades, right? Until he was convicted, and he's got a 7.5-year prison sentence that's playing out right now. But the grip that he held on Springfield and the way that all went down for literally decades was just stunning. And it never really got the national attention that it deserved.
No, 4 decades, and he's the longest-serving Speaker of the House in the history of the United States. The longest-serving, state level, obviously, Speaker of the House in the history of the United States. And we had an occasional governor, but they couldn't get anything done because the Speaker of the House is so powerful in controlling what bills get voted on. They blame Rounder for not passing a budget. Well, I always like to give people a civic lesson. It's the General Assembly that passes the budget, not the Republican governor or Democratic governor. So there's been a lot of corruption and bad things. And frankly, JB sat by. He didn't call for Madigan to resign. There was a lot of corruption, a lot of issues with the way the speaker's staff treated women. And he just sat by and let that go because he was more interested in gaining power and becoming governor than he was interested in doing the right thing. And one last thing I want to toss in here. JB's been chasing every issue that Pritzker's had, whether it be the gerrymandering or the No King's Day or the LA riots or the transgender issue, all this stuff. You notice he's finally silent about what's happening in D.C. with the National Guard. That's because he would look like a fool if he tried to say he wouldn't want that done in Chicago, where we desperately need help, where crime has been horrible for a long time under Democratic rule. He's finally realized that maybe I shouldn't stick my neck out on this one.
That's interesting. I didn't know. So he's keeping his lips shut, and he doesn't do that very often. I mean, that's a whole nother topic. Brandon Johnson, this guy in Chicago, it's unbelievable.
Oh, the school situation. We spent $31,000 for a student. We pay for Mercedes, and we get a Yugo education in the city. Brandon Johnson's situation that's a disaster. But from a safety standpoint, some of the laws that have been passed and the soft on crime, people don't want it. People want good schools, they want safe streets, and they want reasonable taxation. And right now in Illinois, you can't really say we're getting any of the three. And if you're going to be the governor of poll after poll, not just the one that I talked about, poll after poll shows that out of any state in the nation, Illinois is the one that people want to move out the most. I don't know how you can be the leader of that state for 2 terms with a supermajority in the House and Senate and get away unscathed. If you're the leader of a state people want to leave, that says a little bit about your record and how you're governing.
You know, for the longest time, and this has not been in the news in Missouri as much, but we've had, voter ID has been debated for literally decades. And when I was in Wisconsin, we talked about voter ID. And whenever we talked about voter ID here, you had people that were claiming it was disenfranchising voters. I've always, Mark, made the case that the true disenfranchised voters are the millions of Illinois residents who live outside and south of Cook County because they don't have a voice. That's kind of one of the points here. They simply do not have a voice in national or in local issues or Illinois issues, which is kind of stunning and sad when you think about it.
Yeah, and for the longest time, Illinois was kind of governed from the center. We had a lot of where the House and Senate were run by Democrats, but you had a governor that was Republican going back to the 90s and whatnot. The Democrats that were there for a long time were fairly moderate. You've taken this hard turn to the left. It's accelerated the last 8 years under this governor, and it's really accelerating with his ambitions for president because he knows that the path is to win the Democratic nomination for president. And to do that, you have to be a far lefty. And it's just not good, and it's not fair. It's why we don't have a tier 1 candidate for governor yet. There's a couple more people looking at it. But if we had somebody, despite JB's money, if we had a strong Republican governor candidate for governor, I think this is a situation where you could pull off the surprise.
Is he up then in 26 next year? Is that the race?
Yeah, he's up in 26, and that's really the big issue because he's running to the left while he has to run to the center for governor. And it is hard to do both of those things at the same time. Frankly, I think some consultants probably talked him into doing it. If I was advising him, I wouldn't try to do both at the same time because of that issue. But sometimes political consultants like to make money.
Now, Mark, do you have to give Pritzker just a little bit of credit because unlike most Illinois governors, he's not yet wearing an orange jumpsuit?
That's the standard we have in Illinois. That's our standard. So far, we're 2 for our last 2. We're going to try and continue that streak. A little disappointed he didn't say anything about the corruption that was going on under his watch in the House and Senate. But I guess we'll give him a little credit for not walking out in handcuffs.
Well, stay on him, Mark Batinick. Thank you so much for coming on here on 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the
time.
Right.
Yeah, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident on southbound 270 at Olive. The left lanes are blocked and traffic is really jammed behind it. Back to about Dorset. Now, northbound a little slow in that area as well. Also a slow go southbound 170 south of Olive through 64. Now, westbound 40, slow in Kings Highway out past McCausland. Eastbound is slow at the inner belt. We've got westbound slow through Chesterfield Valley and then some moderate volume out at Prospect. Now, 70 westbound, not that bad in the city. Some moderate volume at Jennings Station Road. But it's really slow on just past Bryan Road. Could be an incident out there, just not reported yet. And if you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the bridges downtown. 6440, a little slow there. But on the Illinois side, road work eastbound 5570 near 203 causing a delay, and eastbound 64 between 157 and 159. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. It's 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Don't forget a Wednesday edition of Sue's News coming up after 4 o'clock here on 97.1 FM Talk. I want to talk about the MAC. We're doing something kind of fun this Saturday at the West Clubhouse. I hang out at the West Clubhouse a lot more than downtown because I live a little bit closer to it. That's where I'm in the racquetball league. But we and I have sort of highlighted some of the things that the MAC does with their charitable arm and the philanthropic role that the club plays in the St. Louis area. And if you are a member, you can come to the West Clubhouse this Saturday to fill the MAC bus with school supplies for Kids Smart. Kids Smart is one of the 2025 Charitable Society for Children charities. We pick 3 each year. That's one of them. This is school supplies for kids who really, really need it. In fact, if you're a member, you should have gotten an email that gets you a link to a wish list that you can either purchase on Amazon or elsewhere. And I know Elizabeth Brown at the MAC is kind of headlining this and trying to take charge of it. A great way for you as an MAC member to be a part of, something really important here in St. Louis, where I philosophically always say government can't do all this. We know that. We see these devastating stories in the news, especially about the St. Louis public schools and the audit. We talked about it again last Friday on the roundtable. This is an opportunity to fill the MAC bus with school supplies for Kids Smart. You can always find out more at mac-stl.org for the Missouri Athletic Club.
From border security to school choice, the Constitution to the culture war. Made in America. Heard in the Midwest. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Grounded to third, diving play by Arenado. They get the out! Unbelievable.
Get ready for the ultimate showdown. The New York Yankees come to Busch Stadium the weekend of August 15th through the 17th, and they're bringing the star power. See sluggers like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton take on your Cardinals in one of the biggest series of the season. Finish off your summer in style with the Cardinals and Yankees. Great seats still available. Get yours now at Cardinals.com.
This is Nolan Arenado, St. Louis Cardinals, Fort Lulu.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game, it's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody, it's our favorite song.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Yesterday for I think a couple of segments, we talked about the media reaction to the federal takeover, whatever you want to call it, of DC, and a lot of the talking points were out there, and they were along the same lines. And this whole allegation, this is the funniest one to me, that Trump's just doing this to sort of avoid coverage of the Epstein issue is ludicrous, but that didn't stop them from saying it.
Lots of people yesterday saying, hey, is this a distraction? Is Trump trying to distract from the Epstein scandal?
I think he's trying to move the Epstein story off the front page.
A diversion from Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein.
We should acknowledge that the most violent day in modern DC history happened inside that building you are looking at.
The most violent moment in recent history in DC was January 6th.
The biggest crime spree in the history of Washington, D.C. was on January 6th.
When I go to D.C., I'm not afraid of losing my wallet so much as I'm afraid that my children's freedom to breathe will be stolen in a world where climate change policy is non-existent.
Oh my God, that's probably my favorite right there. But here's what's interesting, and there has been a little bit of an evolution, because reality is reality, and they do have issues, and they're not pretty in DC. And there are people in the media that have been victims, or they know victims of crime, and they would like it cleaned up as well. Like, for example, this is surprising to me, Joe Scarborough.
This is an interesting thing where I'll hear, I actually heard from a reporter when this was happening going, well, if he doesn't overreach, this is actually a good thing for quality of life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because DC right now, I had this happen to my family and I had that. They go down the list. And then saw him tweet something completely different. So DC, there has been a problem.
All right, so this is interesting, and I don't know which reporter he was talking about, but essentially what he was doing there is confirming the media bias that exists not only in this story, but we know it happens in most stories related to Trump. Scarborough is saying, yeah, most people, if they think through it here, they realize that there is a crime problem that needs to be cleaned up that's not being addressed right now. And I even have a reporter that I know that agreed with that sentiment, but then they tweet out something completely different.
This may sound controversial, but I'm not totally opposed to Trump's National Guard move in D.C. I know he's doing it for politics, but crime remains rampant. I've had too many friends carjacked, shot at. None of us will walk more than 3 blocks after 8 p.m. 13-year-olds are committing many of these crimes. Quite a change from a decade ago when things were much calmer.
I love the allegation that he's doing this just for politics, because maybe there's a chance, I know that there's political reasons to do a lot of this stuff, and what's happening with redistricting is maybe the best example of that right now. But couldn't it possibly be that Trump sees that the nation's capital has become somewhat of an embarrassment? We don't want people, because millions of people visit, to be exposed to this on a regular basis. Couldn't that be part of it? Here's Essie Cupp on CNN. She was on the panel with Scott Jennings and Abby Phillips and the crew.
Yeah, I think a few things can be true. One is that I think he's using this issue to distract for some other things. That doesn't mean it's a bad political strategy. I think it's a very good one. And the numbers can be what they are, but also people don't feel that way. And when it comes to two things, crime and the economy, feelings don't really care about your facts. And I can't tell you how profoundly stupid it is for Democrats to get up with their facts and their figures and their charts and their graphs and say, look, you're safe. Can't you read this chart, idiots? Why are you complaining? I'm showing you right here how safe you are. So shut up and move along. I don't have to tell you how profoundly stupid that is, because voters told you how profoundly stupid that was in 2024.
Yeah, she rattles off a bunch of issues here, and I think this is very relatable to St. Louis. The immigration issue is first and foremost the one that I would use, because there were pictures, and it wasn't like it was pulled out of thin air. Millions of people crossed the border illegally. Most Americans had trouble with that.
When Democrats said, see these economic numbers? The economy's great. What are you complaining about? See these crime numbers? Crime's down. You're safe. See these immigration numbers? Obama deported way more. There's no migrant crisis. I can't tell you enough that politics is perception, and the numbers can be right, but you never tell voters they're wrong about how they feel.
Well, and you had, I think even Jennings pointed out, look, there were polling on this. Even the Washington Post had to admit a lot of people in D.C. know that this is a problem.
The polling that you showed earlier, combining people who thought crime is an extreme problem or crime is a moderate problem, was 91%.
Yeah.
So that is,
I totally agree.
So
Yeah,
91% of people who live in a jurisdiction think it's a moderate or an extreme problem. This is not a figment of anyone's imagination. This is not mass hysteria. This isn't, some, collective hallucination. It's real. People who live there know they aren't safe.
I think I even heard part of the panel agreeing with Scott Jennings. It's a miracle.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, I've just heard from traffic reporter Mark Cox, who said there is a jam. There was on the Boone Bridge westbound, the right lane where the construction is blocked. It was blocked by a wrecker for a while, trying to get a truck out of the way. And although I don't see that anymore, we have slow-moving traffic that goes back through Clarkson. So if you are traveling out there, that's what's happening. And southbound 270, there was an accident really close to Olive, and they've had the left lanes blocked through there, and that has created a jam behind it as well. So some slow-moving traffic in certain areas today. Now, there's also some slow-moving traffic, the usual volume, westbound 40, approaching Kings Highway, out past McCausland. Northbound 170 is slowing at Natural Bridge. That's road work. On the Illinois side, slow pockets eastbound 64, 255 to 159. That is all due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I love Tim Fitch as a guest. He was on the roundtable last week. He joined us yesterday on some of the youth crime issues. He's the former police chief of St. Louis County. And I want to mention this because he said to me the other day, he reached out to Generator Supercenter in St. Louis, and he got himself a Generac home standby generator. And you too can get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. These are high quality, awesome generators. They're not portable. And you want to make sure that they are not only installed properly by the pros at Generator Supercenter of St. Louis, but also maintained. It's like any other thing that you have, your HVAC system, your car, you have to do maintenance, make sure that it's running, in tip-top condition. But look, if the ice comes during the winter and a power line goes down, if you have a power grid failure, if you have an accident in your neighborhood and the power goes out, or if you have storms, we had some pretty brisk storms that moved through yesterday. You might even be out of town. You're worried about what might happen to your home. Give yourself peace of mind. No more waiting on hold, calling Ameren. You don't have to wait about any of that. When the power goes out, your Generac generator kicks in right away within seconds. So stop by the showroom in Chesterfield on the Airport Road for a free estimate, or you can call 314-499-2020. Generator, Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Visit MissouriBrushControl.com.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
We have a Wednesday edition of Suzu's plus our friend Alex Rich swinging by for a visit. It's all coming up after Fox News.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Who's at the table? I'm John Saucier, Fox News. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meeting with other European leaders in Berlin this week. Fox's Alex Hogan has more out of London.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Berlin, Germany today as European leaders raise their concerns ahead of President Donald Trump's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz organized today's virtual meetings to present a united European voice. Zelensky and Merz spoke with the leaders of Finland, France, Britain, Italy, Poland, the EU, and NATO, and detailed their phone call with President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. Zelensky said he warned Trump today that Putin is bluffing about wanting to end the war and called for increased pressure on Russia. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
The Trump administration wins a temporary appeals court ruling over foreign aid.
A federal appeals court is lifting a lower court ruling that had required the Trump administration to continue making foreign aid payments. Aid organizations sued, arguing President Trump is in violation of federal law by not spending money authorized by Congress. A district court judge agreed, but a ruling from the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals says that decision was wrong because those aid groups cannot bring a freestanding suit, ruling instead a challenge to the federal statute must be brought by the Comptroller General, who leads the Government Accountability Office. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Harvard University and the Trump administration getting close to an agreement that would require the Ivy League university to pay $500 million to regain access to federal funding and to end investigations. The framework is still being sorted out with significant gaps to close, but both sides have agreed on the financial figure. A settlement could be finalized in coming weeks. This would end a months-long battle that has tested the boundaries of government's authority over America's universities. America is listening to Fox News.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Partly cloudy skies with us for any evening plans. There's been a couple of spot thunder showers, but they will fade away very quickly. 80s, low to mid 80s for evening plans, 68 for the overnight low. Thursday, partly sunny, still not too bad for the month of August. 89 for the high, we'll take that. Thursday night, clear sky, 71. It's coming back Friday, sunny, back to hot and humid for the afternoon, 95. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property, manage vegetation, and clear land for better views. Enjoy your land the way you always dreamed of. Missouri Brush Control, making acreage great again.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or personal loans, help is here. As Americans continue to pile up astounding credit card debt levels with high interest rates to make ends meet, debt relief is being made available through National Debt Relief that could reduce a significant portion of what you owe if you qualify. For many, continuing to struggle making minimum monthly payments could take 25 or more years to pay off. National Debt Relief has already helped over 550,000 Americans reduce their debt by negotiating directly with their creditors. When you call, you'll be amazed at how much you can save and how quickly you can become debt-free. If you want off the debt treadmill, call National Debt Relief today. You don't need to declare bankruptcy, and you may qualify for significant debt relief. Call the Relief Hotline now to check what savings you may qualify for. Dial 800-476-3131. 800-476-3131. That's 800-476-3131.
If you're trying to sell a home, there's only one agent in town that I trust, Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. My friends Mark and Neil have the best system to connect you to the best qualified buyers, getting your home sold fast and for top dollar. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
We got people probably heading out of the ballpark, although there weren't very many people there. I don't know, Fred, if you were watching the screen, but the Cardinals lost the series to the Rockies.
Yeah.
It was kind of back and forth today. The Cardinals had the lead, and in the ninth, I guess there was a 2-out, 2-run homer. The Rockies have only won 32 games. They've taken 4 of 6 from the Cardinals this summer. And it's just perfect, right? You win the series against the Dodgers and against the Cubs, and then you lose to the hapless Rockies. That does not help you at all in this wild card chase.
And the only 2 shutouts the Rockies have had all year have been against the Cardinals.
Good Lord. Alex Rich is in the house with us this afternoon. How are you? Well, you are, but you were on, but I didn't have you potted up there.
Well,
sorry about that.
You're having me back, and you don't even let the people hear what they want to hear. You know,
it's been a little while.
It's been a while.
That's the same microphone that Jane's on, so you can understand why I use it in a certain way
fair.
on Fridays. No,
That's fair.
I don't think I've seen you in 7 or 8 weeks.
It's
probably.
been a while.
Right.
A lot has changed in the last few weeks.
And you know this because I called you the day after, and I texted you the day of Alex's wedding. Now, look, the joke has always been, and I've made this point even with your wedding, that I will give you a bigger gift if you don't make me go to your wedding, right? And that was kind of my joke for years, and I used that on you. Well, I got to the point with this anxiety on that Saturday when you were getting married, that I just knew I was tortured not only by what I was experiencing, but I was tortured by the fact that I could not be at your wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I really was. But I sat there and I had to make a call, and I didn't want to bother you when you were going through everything, but I texted you because you are such a close friend and said, dude, I just want you to know I'm going through something right now. And based on what happened to me the rest of that day, I made the right call because that was one of the more torturous days. But I really was disappointed that I missed it.
No, we were disappointed to have you, but I don't know. You didn't come. I don't know. Did we get a gift from you?
No, you did not get a gift yet either.
Really he brought it up.
No,
I don't usually ask somebody, did you get us a gift? But he brought it up.
That's a fair point. It would also be a fair point to say that when I talked to you about this, I said there was going to be something a little bit unique involved. And that will be taken care of.
All right.
And I feel bad about it because I thought
it's
about
on
it.
a Post-it note on my desk.
Yeah.
It says Mark's gift for not being at the wedding.
Well, and I did think about it because I knew you were coming in here today, and it's been so crazy. So that's on me. I will make sure that by
No.
the next time you come in here, we will have corrected that.
We're just glad you're doing well.
But how was
we
the
have to have
honeymoon
the
and
whole
everything?
wedding again for you?
No,
I
you
guess.
don't. It's
No,
fine.
the wedding, the honeymoon, everything was awesome. We went to Italy and Greece. We did the whole Amalfi Coast.
Lovely.
Sorrento, Positano, all that. I actually had did you see some of the pictures?
I saw some of the pictures. They
I
look
had
great.
this outfit that I wore the first day. It was just awesome. It was a lemon shirt and short matching set. I was walking around Capri in Italy. They were calling me the Lemon Man everywhere I walked. It was great. But no, it was a good time. I tell you, because you've been to Greece.
Well, I just got back from Greece.
So
right?
Greece,
In May.
we went to Crete, and it's got the most beautiful beaches. We went to like Balos Beach, which is the Blue Lagoon, and it's like you can't even make up how the water looks. I mean, it's cleaner than the swimming pools that you swim in, but it was a great experience.
Yeah, we didn't go to Crete, but Santorini really jumped out at me as one of the really cool stops, and the water was stunning. I would highly recommend it. But you know what? In I don't know how much I addressed this last week, and I haven't talked extensively about why I was gone, because I was gone, Fred, how long was it? Like 5 weeks, and a little bit more than that because I took some time off in June. But apparently, and I know this sounds weird, right? Apparently there is a phenomenon in which when U.S. international travelers come back from overseas, and I had one psychiatrist tell me that it only happens when you're traveling west. So if you're coming back from Greece, you are heading west, right? Or from Italy. And it's something that throws off your body clock. And I don't know if that's what happened to me or not, but it was 2 days after I returned from Greece that was May 7th. So I've been dealing with this for 3 months. I finally returned to the air on Friday. So this is my 4th day back on the air, and not to jinx it, but I was telling Alex and I told Tricia this, Fred, maybe I told you that, like, this is one of the best days I have felt since I got back from Greece. And some of this is so unpredictable because some days, yesterday I wasn't feeling great. Monday I wasn't feeling great. I got through the show. I'm back on the horse. I'm trying to get through it. But today has been one of those days where everything has been calm. So I can't even really begin to explain what I've gone through. But I did feel very badly that I didn't, go to the wedding. And your gift is coming.
I do appreciate it. Yeah, and you mentioned the coming back from Greece. My experience was a little different. It wasn't as happy. I mean, yours wasn't happy, obviously.
Well,
but I guess
I know about this a little bit
kind of
too.
relate to, yeah. But we literally walked in the door and from being gone for 10 days on our honeymoon and had to go put one of our dogs down.
Yeah.
That night. Yeah. So Miko, our Bernese Mountain Dog, he was a good dog.
And that was Annie's dog, right?
Annie's dog.
It was hers. Oh,
yeah.
I'm
So
it's
been a tough return back to reality. So you throw in that I was off kilter planning the wedding for a month and then the honeymoon basically for a couple weeks. So I've been kind of on another planet, I guess, for the last about 2 months or so, just in a different way than you. But I understand that like it's hard to get back to reality a little bit.
Well, and from my perspective, and this is why this is relatable, 2 weeks after we got back from Greece is when we had to put Duke to sleep. And, that was devastating.
Yeah.
And, didn't help in my mental situation. Now, I will also admit this and, stating the obvious. So we head right into, at the beginning of June, getting a puppy, as you know, because we did it for a variety of reasons. Mainly because of the calendar, because my daughter was off school for the summer. Thank God she goes back on Monday. But not going to lie, puppies are a lot of work and add a lot of stress. And what percentage of the work do you think I do compared to my 10-year-old daughter? And I was realistic going in, although she stepped up to the plate and she's done a pretty good job. And we've had fun with the puppy. But that's, that's stressful. It's hard.
Tough. It's tough. It's different than a childhood dog, This is like, I'm at the age where it's like kind of our first, really, I haven't had too many like experiences like this in my life, fortunately, knock on wood, but
it sucks.
It's kind of one of those things where you just can't explain it until you experience it.
Not to be too morbid or negative or anything, but I'm actually at the point in my life where I wonder if I'm going to outlive this dog or if the dog will outlive me. I'm being serious. I think about things like that because I'm such a negative person. Don't look at me like that, Sue.
I'm
just thinking, well,
you are not 90.
I know I'm not 90.
I mean, sometimes he acts 90.
Well, I'm just saying, you're right.
I was watching Hard Knocks last night, which I love on Max. They pick an NFL team every year, and they're doing the Buffalo Bills this year, and Josh Allen, and it's pretty cool. It's not the best season of Hard Knocks, but they called and wished Sean McDermott, the coach of the Bills, during the episode called Marv Levy, the former legendary Hall of Fame coach of the Bills, who took them to, was it 4 Super Bowls and they didn't win? Marv Levy, 100 years old.
How about that?
And he sounded fantastic.
That's
So
Now,
to
see,
your
that's
point,
how it's supposed to be.
okay, can I
Yeah.
say this though? I am at the point when, and I'm going to say this, and this is going to be stupid too. You kind of wonder, am I ever going to do a puppy again? Because puppies are so much work. But we got the old man in Olaf, and how old is Ralphie now?
Ralphie's 8.
Yeah, and for a French bulldog, that's old, isn't it?
He's got a few years
does?
left in him. I think so. Yeah.
But are you gonna go the
was
puppy route?
9. Miko was 9. Which for a Bernese Mountain Dog is pretty.
Yeah, it's
Is it?
You know, that's. I mean, yeah. They usually all get the same type of cancer, and
Oh,
at
really?
8 or 9 years old. But Ralphie, we're not in the puppy situation.
Yeah,
right
okay.
now. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's tough to jump into that. Did you see the DNA test? Did I show you the DNA test from Max? Or
No.
not? So he ended up being.
Is he Is he like the 3% Jewish like you are?
He's 0.3%
question.
Ashkenazi Jew. He
Okay.
is. No, he is Siberian Husky, 36% Siberian Husky.
Really?
30% Lab, and then 20% Pit Bull, and then they said like 12% Super Mutt that's where the Ashkenazi
It's a
comes
pretty
in.
good. Yeah, sure.
That's an interesting mix, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean,
right.
it's all over the place, but I mean, it's perfect fit for your house.
It is. Good to see you. Glad to have you back. We're going to do Sue's News coming up next. Hang in there.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've got volume out there. School is getting back in session and traffic is picking up. We'll start up north. Eastbound 270 is really heavy and slow, headed for and crossing the Chain of Rocks Bridge. We had some debris northbound 170, especially near the Rock Road in the right lane. We have road work through there, and it's caused a real delay. And that's even in both directions. Southbound 270 is jammed now, and it's from Page down through 64. Westbound 6440, slow pockets approaching Kings Highway. Out through McCausland, it's slowing again, Lindbergh through 270. And then it's really jammed as you approach the Clarkson area through Boone's Crossing, then things open up. 70, by the way, really slow at Bryan Road. Headed into Illinois, there's some volume on the Poplar Street Bridge and road work, 5570 eastbound at Exchange. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control.
Point Pest Control is reminding you it's time to spray for mosquitoes. How can something that tiny interrupt your outside gatherings? Have Point Pest Control spray today so your next outside gathering is mosquito-free. 636-798-0023. Mention Annie to save an additional 10%. PointPestControl.com.
I guess maybe even the last decade, we've sat here many times. I've been on the air talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, and I don't get it. And then we try to have someone that explains it to me, and I still don't get it. And then I'm lost. And a lot of people are lost out there when it comes to Bitcoin. But I have a solution for that. I met a guy by the name of Bitcoin Ben. He's a fan of 97.1 FM Talk. He is a fan of this show, and he wanted to use the Mark Reardon Show as a way to spread the good word about his Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club, which is a nationwide club, but they're bringing one here to his hometown of St. Louis. And we're going to roll this out here in the next few weeks. Bitcoin is the #1 appreciating asset of all time. It's interesting because there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin that will be available. That gets even confusing in and of itself, but the club that he's bringing offers live classes on Bitcoin and other digital assets. It is really a great way to find out and get educated and informed with other people who would like to have a passion for this. And Bitcoin Ben has such a passion. He's so informed. He wants everyone to have an opportunity at what he would refer to as a once-in-a-lifetime generational wealth. And he's also going to tell you that he doesn't need the money to do this because he's got plenty of money. He's done pretty well here with Bitcoin. But if you want to find out more and you want to get involved in the club, we'll have more details very, very soon. But if you go to the website, bitcoinben.io, bitcoinben.io, you can find out more about the St. Louis Club, the TV show he does on YouTube, the private key bank, which is coming this fall. For information, you can call 941-413-6920, or again, the website, bitcoinben.io.
Imagine this, a summer evening, relaxing under a beautiful porch overhang, hosting your friends on a composite deck, or enjoying a bug-free breeze in a screened room. That sounds dreamy, right? Hi, it's Kim, and that dream can be your reality with Lakeside Renovation and Design because they specialize in creating outdoor spaces that make your backyard the go-to spot for family and friends. And with their attention to detail and the high quality materials they use, you'll have a space that lasts for years. Visit lakesideRV.com today to get started on your outdoor oasis.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis, and they get paid weekly. Available to eligible Medicaid members in St. Louis. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid. Freedom Care has over 7,000 five-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want to receive great care from a loved one, go to freedomcare.com or for faster service, call 314-597-1749. 314-597-1749. That's 314-597-1749.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Hey, what's up, flies? This is David Spade.
Dana Carvey.
Look, I know we never actually left, but I'll just say it. We are back with another season of Fly on the Wall.
Every episode, including ones with guests, will now be on video. Every Thursday, you'll hear us and see us chatting with big-name celebrities.
And every Monday, you're stuck with just me and Dana. We react to news, what's trending, viral clips.
Follow and listen to Fly on the Wall everywhere you get your podcasts.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Curtis Houck, who is the managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center, will join us after 5 o'clock to talk about some media reaction to the DC crime story. And I was unable to talk about this Jim Acosta AI interview of a student that died in the Parkland massacre. And that's certainly something, if you haven't heard about it, that needs to be highlighted. And we'll do that after 5 o'clock. Right now on a Wednesday afternoon.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, it's National Filet Mignon Day, which sounded really good to me. And I thought, maybe Mark will go to that butcher down by you.
The
and
corner
pick up
butcher.
the
Right.
corner butcher. Oh, that sounds good. And on this day in history, 111 years ago, it was in 1914, when genius Carl Wickman began using his beat-up gray car that nobody would buy to take miners. And I'm talking about the kind in the ground.
Not kids,
Thank you.
right? Yes.
All right.
Good
With
clarification,
coal
though.
miners, yes. In Minnesota, and it's kind of his taxi service took off. And he was soon able to buy more cars to service more miners back and forth. And his little business is now known as Greyhound Bus Corporation.
Wow.
Greyhound Bus started taking miners back and forth. It's very interesting.
Have you ever taken a Greyhound bus on a trip?
I don't think so. Have you?
I did one time. One time I was at a Greyhound bus. I can't remember if it was from here to Chicago or from Chicago to St. Louis. What I do remember is that bus stopped at every prison in Illinois. That's what I remember.
No.
It wasn't a quick trip. I think I'm exaggerating, but there was one prison stop. I do remember that.
Oh my gosh,
yeah,
Mark.
there were people that were getting off to visit
I would not be taking
my
that
mom and dad
bus.
shipped me either to see my friends or back to St. Louis when I was up in Chicago. And boy, I would probably be 16, 17 years old.
Maybe it
something
was
like
a
that.
scared straight situation.
Well, I'll tell you what scared me into ever riding the Greyhound bus again. Yes, I would. I wouldn't do it. I never did it since.
I think we took one from New York to D.C. instead of the train.
How was that? Oh, that's
it was
right.
okay. It's
It was
just a
all
lot
right.
of stops.
You didn't stop at prisons?
Not that I could.
I wonder how much that's a thing these days, though. Like, you used to see those on the road all the time, and I don't think you quite do anymore.
I rarely see them. Yeah.
What is that double-decker bus that takes you? It used to from St. Louis to Chicago.
Mega
Oh,
bus.
yeah, the mega bus,
now,
right.
if that was
They had some
Greyhound-
issues years ago. I mean, Greyhounds
they?
had their fair share, I'm sure, but
Oopsie.
Yeah.
Okay, 52 years ago today, we'll play a little music with this. In 1973, Leonard Skinner released their self-titled album.
Before I moved to St. Louis in 1979, I was not exposed to a lot of Leonard. Is exactly right.
Yep.
What happened when I moved here, there were bands that were popular up there that no one had ever heard of down here, like UFO, which is a great British rock band. And then Leonard Skinner. I learned a lot about Leonard Skinner when I moved here. And you're right, because of Keishi.
That's just how it works. Simple Man and Freebird were on it, and also this one, Give Me 3 Steps.
Great stuff, though.
It's
I
the
became
world's
a Leonard
longest
Skinner,
intro.
but I did become a Leonard Skinner fan.
I
and,
get it.
Remain to this day. So there you go. It is a long intro. If it was a bump, we'd be kind of talking it up to the
Yeah,
intro
we would.
right about now.
I was stuck in a rug down at a place called a Jug with a girl named Linda.
It's good stuff, isn't
I
it?
didn't realize that this song was on their first album. It was kind of fun just to hear it again. And 17 years ago today in 2008 is when Michael Phelps became the winningest Olympic athlete of all time. That was so fun to watch. He took home his 10th and 11th gold medals at the Beijing Olympics. He went 8 for 8, broke almost every swimming-related medal record in the book. And by the time he retired, he had earned 23 gold medals.
That was so much fun, to your point, just watching him
Yes.
own that pool and see his family and everything that happened with the team events. Those were some of the best Olympic memories that I've had.
Same. Just watching him was so great. All right, President Trump announced the 2025 Kennedy Center honorees. Well, and he also talked about the host.
Yeah, he's been asked to host it.
I've been asked to host. I said, I'm the president of the United States. Are you fools asking me to do that? Sir, you'll get much higher ratings. I said, I don't care. I'm president of the United States. I won't do it. They said, please. And then Susie Wiles said to me, sir, I'd like you to host. I said, okay, Susie, I'll do it. That's the power she's got.
She's, of course, the chief of staff who does have a lot of power. She stays behind the scenes, but a very, very important person in the administration.
Well, we've got George Strait up. He's nominated.
All my exes live in Texas.
I think I'm a little surprised that George Strait's never been honored, but that's a good selection, right?
Yeah, he's the nicest guy.
And then we go from that extreme to this extreme. Kiss is going to be
all of Kiss.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then how about this one here?
At first I was afraid, I was petrified.
Great one, Lori Gaynor.
I could never live without you by my side.
And there's Michael Crawford, who is Michael Crawford like
He's
a
English.
producer or is he an actor?
Well, yeah, that's a good question.
Phantom of the
Fred.
Opera.
He's
I think
more of
Phantom.
an actor.
Okay, he's an actor. Right. I know the name, but I should know maybe a little
You
bit
do not like
more.
Andrew Lloyd Webber. I'm the only one. I get it.
Really? I don't know
Everybody
that I'm
loves
the
them,
biggest fan either.
Yeah.
It doesn't do much for me. And then one more here. Rocky, Sylvester Stallone.
Now we're
Let me tell
talking.
you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
Uplifting words.
I was
Yes.
kind of rooting for Uncle Ted, for Ted Nugent again, and maybe next year at the Kennedy Center Honors. But I will say a little. But by the way, why shouldn't there be a variety of choices? Because politics does play a role in this, unfortunately. Who gets selected?
Well, that's true.
That's a little different grouping, I would say.
Well, that's fair. I have a story for Alex, but I don't think we're going to have.
Save it for after
All
the
right,
break.
I'll save
Yeah.
it. All right. remember Eddie Van Halen's 1982 Kramer electric guitar, the red one with the black and white stripes? Sotheby's will be auctioning it off in October. He used the guitar in Van Halen's 82 and 83 tours. They think this thing will sell for $2 million.
Wow.
$2 million.
Doesn't surprise me.
Well, he had a tech that he gave this guitar to, and he, inscribed it to the tech, Rudy, who then sold it to Mick Mars of Motley Crue, who used it for the recordings of Dr. Feelgood. So that's the guy who's putting it up, and he's like, yep, it's a big deal. So we'll see if they get $2 million. And finally, in Sue's news, we do have today's random fact. The expression "my bad" became popular because of the former NBA star Manute Bol. He didn't quite have a full grasp of English, so instead of saying "my fault" when something went wrong, he'd say "my bad," and that's how it spread.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
it.
fascinating.
Yeah, that is.
I love that.
I love that too. And that's why when we get to this portion of Sue's News, we like to scratch our heads a little bit and say that's a very interesting random fact.
Yeah.
Save your story for Alex. I got a couple more things I want to toss out there as well. And that's coming up here after a Fox Business Report on 97.1 FM Talk. Hang in there.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. Kava yesterday lowering its full-year forecast for same-store sales growth after reporting a disappointing second quarter. For the full year, Kava now expects same-store sales growth of 4 to 6%, down from its prior range of 6 to 8%. Net restaurant sales climbed 20% to more than $278 million. Officials with Sphere Entertainment say more than 120,000 tickets have been sold for screenings of a special rendering of The Wizard of Oz starting later this month at the Las Vegas Sphere. Experts are saying showings of the classic movie could help drive the rate of Vegas visitors attending the Sphere above 40%. On Wall Street, stocks rose today with the Dow up more than 460 points. And the S&P 500 and NASDAQ both set fresh records, up slightly. U.S. crude oil futures for September delivery continue to fall today, nearly 0.7%. They're currently sitting under $63 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
What are you doing every day to support your liver? If you enjoy sweets, fast food, alcohol, or take any medications, that's a vital question to ask. Hi, I'm Sherry Torkas, pharmacist and health author. For over 30 years, I've helped people make informed decisions about their health, especially concerning prevention and long-term wellness. Supporting your liver isn't just a wellness trend, it's a daily essential. That's why I recommend Active Liver by New Nordic. It's made with plant-based ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and globe artichoke, herbs clinically studied for their protective and restorative effects on the liver. Active Liver blends traditional herbal wisdom with modern scientific research. Not all supplements are created equal. I trust Active Liver because it's backed by science, meets strict quality standards, and delivers true daily liver support.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
I think that we can make it is not a retirement strategy. And I think a lot of people save and they get close to retirement and think, well, yeah, this should do it. Okay, that is not it. You have got to have a written retirement financial plan in place. And this is why I like financial and tax architects. They're just the best. But what they do is teach you how the system works. Here's how to get the most for your money. Here's how they try to tax you in retirement. Here's what you can do. Let's take a look at what you've got. Let's come up with a plan to make sure that it can last you through retirement. And that's what I think makes sense. So what they do is have you come to a class called Retirement Planning 101, and you have to register. So call them today, 314-888-5101, 314-888-5101. Meet them, learn about retirement, and then make a decision. You are going to feel better.
Straight Realty has always been an industry leader when it comes to commissions, so it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me, 314-441-4444, Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
From barbecues to baseball fields. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
You know, we finally, and it's taken a while because we voted for this last November for sports wagering in Missouri. We finally have the first licenses that are going to be issued on Friday. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to be able to wager right away. I still think December is the target date for this. This has kind of been slow rolled by Denny Hoskins, who is the Secretary of State, in a disappointing fashion, in my opinion. But Alex Gold is a friend of ours on the other side of the state, Kansas City 610 Sports Radio. He'll have the latest on that. And we'll talk a little Chiefs and Kansas City Stadium update as well. That's coming up in about an hour at 5:32. I also have Curtis Houck from Newsbusters in the Media Research Center after 5 o'clock. Couple of things that I want to share here in this segment. But Sue, you said you had a story that you didn't squeeze in during Sue's News that Alex might have an interest in. Alex Rich, our friend here on a Wednesday afternoon, drops in on us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Alex just got married and is back from the honeymoon, and we've been talking about wedding stuff. But they made an announcement. There's an app that now allows couples to sell tickets to their wedding. So I thought I'd see what you, because I hadn't heard of anything like this.
Really?
Not to friends and family, but to strangers. And the idea is that it can reduce costs.
What?
Right?
Wow.
Wait, why?
But they say random people can pay to attend the event socially. So you choose how many tickets you want to make available and pay ticket holders to come and mingle with guests and enjoy the happy event, right? That's the theory. So you have actual wedding crashers, but they're paying to be there, and it turns it more into a party.
Seems like a lot of people that you didn't want to invite would just buy the ticket and then invite themselves.
Oh,
right?
you know, I hadn't thought of that.
By the way, I think I would have thrown mine up on StubHub
You know
had
what
I
I
known
mean?
this phenomenon
Yeah,
existed, right?
The market would have been, I mean,
Oh
You
my
don't
the
know.
market would have been pretty good
It
at
would have
our
been pretty
wedding,
high,
I
I
think.
think.
Yeah.
They say it's strange for a couple not to know everybody, but it wouldn't be too awkward for guests since you're merging circles. So they're not going to know everybody anyway. So what the heck? If you find yourself in a strapping position, go ahead and invite.
You know, at my wedding, it actually happened. A woman came up to me and said, "And who are you?"
No,
And I'm
At your own
yeah,
wedding?
At my wedding, because she was a friend of my mother-in-law,
my
who was
gosh,
just, you know,
Fred.
invited
Did
to come
she not
along.
see you walk that
Well, no, it was a private ceremony. The
I
reception
gotcha.
was afterwards.
Did you say
And
this?
we
How about
weren't
old
really
Fred Bottenheimer
dressed,
over there, ladies and gentlemen?
you know, in formal wear.
How about that?
Yeah.
So I could understand how that would happen.
Right.
I rewatched the movie a few weeks ago, Wedding Crashers.
It's a good one.
Over the course of a couple of nights. I love Owen Wilson. You know, he's in this show that's on Apple TV Plus called Stick. Have you checked that out?
I have not.
He's a former professional golfer who sort of had a meltdown, and it's a sad way that he had the meltdown because he lost a child. They kind of reveal that pretty early in the series, so I'm not spoiling anything. But he finds this young kid who's a golf phenom who had been, you know, trained by his father, who's now out of the picture, and Owen Wilson kind of takes this kid on as a project. And I love him. I love Owen Wilson.
Yeah,
He
he's
makes
great.
me happy the way he delivers lines. So I would highly recommend Stick, especially if you like golf, like Alex, because you're into golf. If you're not as into golf, you might not like it, but
Sure.
it's on Apple TV Plus, came out earlier this summer.
I'm sure you had the conversation and it's off this topic, but you've seen Happy Gilmore 2 yet?
I have. Okay, so
I don't want
have
to
you
get too
seen it?
far into it. I've seen it, of
All right.
course, but
It's
I don't want to get away
Did
from
you watch
Sue's
it, Sue?
topic here.
No, that's absolutely fine because we know, because it was Ethan who saw it and said into the movie Happy Gilmore 2 about half an hour or early in. You're like,
real
"Ooh,
early."
a shocker.
A shocker
Yeah.
for sure. You've seen
Oh
it?
yeah,
you see that
yeah,
part?
yeah.
Okay.
yeah. Kind of a fun. I liked it. Okay, and there's a ton of cameos. There's
Oh,
just
yeah.
cameo after cameo,
Now
and a
that's
lot
fun.
of PGA guys are
It's
in
great.
there. Yeah,
It's
so
great.
For what it is and for what it was, and I like Sandler as well, I thought it was worth watching.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know that
agree.
I'll go back to it and watch it again anytime soon, but if you've seen
It's
the
good.
first one,
Lives
you
up to the
got to
hype.
see the sequel. Yes.
I have another wedding item to bring up to Alex. Earlier this week, I heard the story of a woman, a bride to be, sent out reminders maybe to people that didn't RSVP that they were coming.
Mhm.
Oh.
And it said, by the way, it's too late to RSVP. We've passed the date. So I've already turned in the numbers.
So their
But
invites off the table.
you still have time to go to our
the registry.
gift
To get us
list
a gift?
and send us a gift.
Oh, no.
Wow.
So the
no,
debate
Wow.
was, is that tacky?
Yes.
Yeah, that's tacky.
Yes, it is. There's no question.
That's tacky for sure. Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's just like text. We did have to text a few people and say, hey, we never got your RSVP. Like,
Are you
can
coming?
you go to this link? And it was like, they'd go to the website and, you hope they see the registry. But that's another thing. I could go a whole nother route. You'd be very surprised how many people, going back to the gift thing, I'm not singling you out here at all.
No, I get it. I
but
get
truly,
it. You can, though. I
you
deserve
would
to be
be
singled
very
out.
surprised. You would or wouldn't be surprised at how many people go to weddings and just, I guess, don't get gifts now
At all?
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
like grown people.
Wow.
Like nothing, not a card, not a
Nothing.
little nothing.
No.
That's
And you'd also be surprised how many people just Venmo, which I'm okay with just the Venmo thing, but the no gift at all, it's like, or the people that are, can afford it. And they're like, well, we came in town for the wedding. It's like, well,
Is
I
that
get
the
but-
mindset? We've had to spend a lot of money to come in, and that's your gift. Our gift.
Look, I'm
to
okay
you
with
is-
that
is
sometimes.
me.
I'm okay with that sometimes, but I feel like that's if you're traveling to like across the world.
Right.
Yeah, but
know what I
that
mean?
that can create some very uncomfortable situations moving forward, couldn't it?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I'm
In other words,
definitely.
who have you kicked off the friend list?
We have a list. We have a list
Do
of
you?
people. I mean, sure, because we got to write.
Well,
the
I'm
thank
on
you
that
note.
list right now.
Yeah. No, you got to pass
Well,
for
because
now, but I'm
because
putting
you
got
got
to
do the
list.
thank yous and everything.
You got to
right?
do the thank
Right.
yous. You got to keep track of this stuff, and so we have a list of, like, we're sitting there thinking like, who, look, there's a couple people, I'll be honest, on the list of no gift that were like, that just doesn't make sense. Maybe it got lost somewhere. But,
Sure.
But then you get into like, do you ask?
What do you do?
What do you do?
Nothing. You
Right.
can't
Because
do
there's a
anything.
couple people truly where it's like they had to have written a check somewhere that got lost somewhere, but like
Maybe not
you
though.
can't, but maybe not, but you can't reach out and be
No.
like, hey,
No.
we're going through our list. Like, did you get us?
Yeah, it's not
something?
like
You
you can call
can't.
everyone out on the radio like you did to me, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you-
it's a rare opportunity that you got to take advantage of.
But
you
that,
cannot
that's
do anything.
really interesting.
You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Yes, I know exactly what
It's
you mean.
interesting. And I actually, because it got us thinking, I had an aunt that she brought it up and she was like, hey, did you get our card? Like, we didn't see that the check was cashed yet. So like, we had no idea. So we were like, no, we didn't get it.
Oh,
We didn't
well-
get it. She asked, but then we went back and looked through the cards and it was stuck inside another envelope.
Oh.
So that was like a rare instance where we wouldn't have gone back and looked had she not said something. Now, obviously, we double checked everything now, but I would assume these other people aren't going to text me and say, hey, I noticed you didn't cash our check.
Maybe.
Maybe
what-
they just did,
let me get
That's a good
nosy
cover.
here because I'm curious about this because I don't go to as many weddings as I used to, and you're in a different age demographic. But what is there a standard number for
I'm
a
glad
wedding?
you asked. It was kind of all over the place.
Because it used
We
to be
got a lot of-
$100, and then it used to be 150, and then it was 250, and I don't
Yeah.
know what the damn number
We got
is.
a lot of 150s. We got a lot of, I would say a majority were 250s.
Yeah.
250.
250 is
For like
kind of
a-
the number.
generous.
For like an adult couple, $250 was about what we got. We
Right.
got some that were like, pretty awesome, pretty above and beyond.
Well,
You
you
wanna know-
hang with
should
the
we-
crew
do we
where
tell you
some of
the-
that should be.
do we tell you the
appropriate.
highest and
Yes, I
lowest one?
do.
The highest one we got was 2,500
Nice.
Wow.
from one person.
Is it someone that you expected to have a high number?
It's Fred,
expected
isn't it?
them to have a high number, but not that high.
2,500.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I
The
mean,
one
Alex,
you're thinking of,
you do hang with former NBA.
the one you're thinking,
all
I'll
stars.
be honest, he's not listening. He's on the no gift list. He didn't give me a gift.
Vic.
He did no gift.
Wait, what?
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, a lot of people don't know
Dude,
how to handle these
People,
sorts
well,
of things.
and look, I give him a little bit of a pass because he's like
He's
doesn't
done a
go
lot
to
for
many.
you.
Yeah, he's done a
Yeah.
lot for me. Doesn't go to many weddings, but it's like, I think somebody like that doesn't really know necessarily the wedding etiquette.
I agree. I really think
so.
that's
This
the
is
thing.
Victor Oladipo, former NBA All-Star. He was the number 2 draft pick overall from Indiana. He went to school with Alex. That's interesting. But again, I mean, this is a guy. In fairness, you've been in suites in Las Vegas. He's flown you to Miami. There's all
collectively,
kinds
he's
of things.
probably spent a couple $100,000 on me over the
Right,
years.
right.
So I'm not mad about it. But no, there are some people that you're like, that just can't be right.
You guys, I don't think they know how it works. There are
Really? You
people,
think that?
especially
I
there are
think there's
single men.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more people than you think that don't know what you do,
And then
or even they don't even know how to go on the registry. And
Right.
I had one of my friends. This is true. One of my friends went on, and I guess great that he got something. He went on. And it's one of those things you select, you have 2 pillow shams on the registry where they're a matching set. He went on and bought one of them. It's a $30.
You got to be kidding
pillow
me.
sham.
Come on, man.
It's that's where it's kind of okay, what are we doing?
Well, what you do is you write the thank you note. Thank you for the 1 pillow sham. We're still waiting for the
We'll
other
buy
one to
the other
arrive.
ourselves.
Right.
Seriously. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's got to be awkward. So then the other question becomes what do you do? Because I think some of this etiquette changes for second weddings or third weddings,
Mhm.
because some people might say, well, look, I wrote you a big check for the first wedding. I don't know if we're going to do that again if you get married again. You know what I mean? I think the dynamics.
No, I would agree with that.
Change.
This is
sometimes.
first wedding, big hurrah. We did the whole thing.
I can't imagine if you're second and third marriage that you're actually registered.
Let me tell you something. If you have a second, third marriage,
doing a registry? Yeah,
no
we
way.
did. Becky and I didn't do that.
No way.
Look, we basically what we did for my second one, we were married in Vegas. Then we went to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and we rented this big, beautiful chalet that they have on the lake. And we picked Lake Geneva because it was in between Milwaukee, where we lived at the time, and in Chicago. Actually, we were living here at the time, now that I think about it, but still it was convenient for the family up there. But it was awesome. But we broke even on what we paid for the party, and that was kind of the goal anyway.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah, we did not break even. I contributed a good amount.
Yeah.
His parents contributed obviously most of the party, but it was quite the time. But yeah,
Well,
you'd be surprised.
What is the leeway for
Did
a
I-
wedding gift? Because you're probably at the 45-day mark right now.
About at it.
Some people do come in a little late, apparently
60
me.
days.
Yeah.
So you have about 15 days to
All right.
get us
The clock is
something
ticking.
really good.
You're going to get something really good. I
Venmo.
promise you.
My
Yeah, I
bro-
just Venmo'd you, right?
Seriously.
Hang
Isn't
on.
that the truth?
We'll come back. Yesterday, I don't even know how this got mentioned yesterday. You guys will have to remind me. But Dr. Laura's name came up yesterday, and I told you that I had a story. You remember why her name was even brought up?
Was it in Sue's news?
Yeah.
But I thought it was the different Laura.
It was a different Laura.
Yeah.
Different. All right. But do you know who Dr. Laura is, Alex, if I say
I've
that?
never heard of it.
Okay, so she's a radio host that's been around for decades. I think she still has a show on Sirius XM, and she is
She had one of the very first shows on KFTK when
Oh, did she really?
Does she have a PhD or should we just call her doctor?
Well, she got a PhD, but she's not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, as I remember. But I do have a good story. We'll share that coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Man, we really have volume out there. School is back in session. We've got more traffic, and eastbound 270 is jammed between 367. Actually, it goes all the way across the chain of Rocks Bridge. 70 westbound jamming at Jennings Station Road. Heavy traffic at K and at Highway A. We've got westbound 364 lined up at 94. We've got westbound 6440 lined up approaching Kings Highway. But this is pockets all the way out through 270. And then it's just jammed from Clarkson to the Boone Bridge. We also have volume on southbound 270, south of Page, in pockets down through 44. And southbound 141 is jammed, headed for 44. 55 jams, Arsenal. Down through Bates, we've got heavy traffic eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge and on 64 between 157 and 159. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Scott Jennings here. I'm excited to be part of the St. Louis conservative conversation, cutting through the noise with unfiltered common sense. Catch the Scott Jennings Show weekdays at 8 p.m. starting August 25th on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan of McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Man, I love this because we mentioned Dr. Laura, and Fred has in his office, in his archives, the actual St. Louis Post-Dispatch article when KFTK went on the air. And this was from October 8th of 2000. So we're coming up on our 25th anniversary. And I guess maybe this is when I was in Milwaukee, so I don't remember everything. But the reason that the call letters are the way that they are is because it was supposed to be female talk for a while. That's your understanding? Okay, wow. So the lineup in the story says, designed to engage, not enrage, the new FM talk station, Radio 97.1, will serve a market that other FM stations have ignored. Women, like a racier radio version of Oprah. 97.1 will air consumer tips and relationship advice. And the lineup at the time was Clark Howard. He did a radio show. Loveline with Dr. Drew Pinsky, Phil Hendry. I don't remember much about Phil. And Dr. Laura was part of the lineup as well. Now, I loved it when I was gone here for the leave of absence that we'll refer to it. I heard from a couple of people, this is always fun for me, that have listened to me on the radio since I started in talk in 1992 at KFRU in Columbia. So Dr. Laura is, Alex, you said you did not know really
No.
who she was. She is very successful. In fact, when they break her down in this article, they say by far the best known personality to debut is Dr. Laura Schlesinger, the contentious host who is called homosexuality a biological error. I didn't even remember that she'd done that, but she had a very, and still does, I think, a strong personality. So she comes on. We had Rush Limbaugh on the air on KFRU, and we're about to go to Dr. Laura's show. Like, this was 1992. So she had been on other stations across the country, but this was sort of at the beginning when she was ramping up. So I'm a host in the morning from 9 until 11 o'clock in the morning at the time with a guy named Simon Rose. I've had Simon on the air before because he's a big football guy and he's a soccer, not American football. He's from Manchester, England. So I thought, let's get Dr. Laura on the air. So we have her on the air, and we were promoting the show. It was my idea to have her on the air. And after the interview, one of the guys, Brian Hansen is the guy's name, from across the hall in one of the music studios, says, "Oh, you're in trouble. Dr. Laura's people are pissed." I'm like, I laughed it off. I thought that, I honestly, I thought he was joking. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, at one point in the interview, and I thought it was a fair question, I said something along the lines of, are there any ethical concerns at all for someone? And she's not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. She has a PhD in physiology. So she's, not completely off the mark. But are there any ethical concerns with, taking a phone call and listening to someone for 90 seconds or 2 minutes and making a diagnosis? And I don't remember what the answer was, but what I do remember is they were pissed that I asked the question. They call my bosses, and I was forced to write an apology to Dr. Laura. Yeah, it was like a big deal. And I thought it was so innocuous. So no, it gets better. So I write the letter of apology. I think I typed it out because you would not have been able to read my handwriting. And I even said in it, I said, look, it was my idea to have you on the show. I wanted to promote the show. I apologize. 2 weeks later, maybe even just a week later, I get my apology letter back to me from Dr. Laura. She sends it back. And in a handwritten response, she says, "Mark," and I have this somewhere. I cannot find it. I don't know where it is amongst I'm not as organized as you are, Fred. But she says, "Mark, you are taking and it's underlined, no responsibility for your actions. This is an arrogant response at best." And I'm like, are you kidding? I mean, I was like blown away because I didn't think I had done anything wrong, but I did apologize. I wasn't trying to create any trouble. And I just thought that was hilarious that was her response. So I had no respect for her moving forward. So I then come on the air in St. Louis in 1996 at what was then KSD AM 550, became another station to this day. The lineup was Frank Opinion in the morning, and I did some stuff with Frank. I was the midday. Dr. Laura followed me, and then it was Kevin Slayton. We had the Rams at that time. It was a weird lineup. Some people might remember that. So like one of the first days I'm on the air, I tell the Dr. Laura story about how I pissed her off. And again, they tried to complain because it got back to them. But Smokey Rivers, who was the program director, of course, that was his real name, not a radio name. Of course. He actually backed me up and stood up for me. But I couldn't believe that she was that touchy and feely and just so sensitive to. And it wasn't like I was ripping her. When I asked the question, I just asked the question. And she should have knocked it out of the park. And I'm sure she probably did. But they didn't like the fact that I even dabbled with that particular question. Wow. So there's my Dr. Laura story. And I've hated her ever since. I will say that. Alex, it's great to see you.
It's been a pleasure.
Hey, do me a favor. Keep me on that no gift list for just a couple weeks longer. Okay?
We do need a new kitchen table. I mean, that is on the registry still. It's a pricey item, but
I probably owe
a lot to make
You've
up
done a
before,
lot
I
for me
guess.
as well, so I will check it out. But I appreciate it. Great to see you.
Hey,
though.
we'll see you next week.
I will see you next week,
Yeah.
right? And I did promise that by the next time I see you, you'll have a gift.
Don't rush it, though.
Okay, I won't. Believe me.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got back to school traffic this afternoon, and it's not great. If you are headed into Illinois, we've got a jam headed for and crossing the Poplar Street Bridge. There was road work at Exchange. And eastbound 64 is jammed 157. It's slow through 159. 44 is slow in front of the Arch grounds. Westbound 6440 lines up approaching Kings Highway. Really, this is in pockets out through 270. And it's heavy from Clarkson through Chesterfield Valley. A little bit slow at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70 is better. It's slowing at Jennings Station Road and some moderate volume to the west. We have a real jam on eastbound 270. 367 across the chain of Rocks Bridge. And it's really a slow go up there, and they're not used to it. This report brought to you by Infinite Vitality. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tired of aging skin? Infinite Vitality reverses collagen loss, tightens with Morpheus and microneedling, and fades age spots. Look naturally younger, not plastic. Visit infinite-vitality.com. Mention Annie for a $50 credit.
So I want to talk about Michael's Flooring Outlet and new flooring. And I have a feeling that we might be heading for some new flooring eventually in the kitchen area and the main level of my house, because Max, the puppy, Sue, when he goes to drink water, he doesn't just stick his face and his tongue in to lap up the water. He likes to stick his big old paws in there and knock the water everywhere on the floor. So the floor is suffering a little damage from the puppy because of the water.
Wow.
He's just big and goofy, and he's a puppy. But my point is if you have damage to maybe what would be outdated floors, we could put some awesome new hard flooring into the home in a couple of different rooms. Thanks to Mike and the team at Michael's Flooring Outlet last year. You have an opportunity even right now to order 3 free samples if you go to their website at igotfloor.com. I think it's better to do an in-person visit with the team if you go to one of the 3 great locations that are open every day except for Sunday, in Old Town St. Peters, in Darden Prairie, and in West County on Olive. If you're looking for new floors in the St. Louis and St. Charles area, you got to go to Michael's Flooring Outlet. For 3+ decades, they've been knocking it out of the park. I know that they want to help you. They have a great staff that has a ton of experience, and you can find out more at igotfloor.com for Michael's Flooring Outlet.
Your home sold guaranteed, or I'll buy it. Hi, I'm Gloria Liu, broker owner at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And for over 20 years, I've been getting my home sellers the most money for their home and selling faster than the average agent. So when you're ready to sell your home or have questions, call me.
For years now, I've been telling you about my friend and trusted realtor, Gloria Liu, and why you should call. Hey, it's Mark Cox. Fact is, when I needed to sell my home, my only call was to Gloria Liu, and she delivered. Gloria exceeded our expectations, and that's why I strongly recommend you call, especially in this shifting market. No matter what happens, you're guaranteed to sell your home at 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay the difference. Call today. Get an upfront written guarantee and start packing. Sell with certainty and for 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference. Call 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
KFTK FM Florissant. An Odyssey station.
Warning to Russia. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump says Russia will face consequences if President Putin won't agree to end the war in Ukraine.
If Friday's summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin goes well, President Trump says there will be a second meeting that includes Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky and myself if they'd like to have me there.
The president is tempering expectations for Friday's meeting in Alaska, but says if Putin does not agree to end the war,
there will be very severe consequences.
President Trump spoke with Zelensky and other European leaders today ahead of Friday's summit.
Fox's Jared Halper at the White House. Zelensky's now in Berlin, where he met with the German chancellor. He's not taking part in Friday's talks.
Conversations between Putin and Trump may be important for their bilateral, but they cannot agree on anything about Ukraine without us.
Meanwhile, Russian forces on the ground in the Donbass region have been closing in on a key territory in the east of Ukraine. There's a push to not allow members of Congress to make stock trades.
A number of bills are being proposed and debated among lawmakers. Both House Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries have come out in support of a ban. Those who push back say the federal government shouldn't prevent people from making money And with an increased cost of living and no pay increase for lawmakers, it would be difficult for people with limited means to serve in Congress.
Fox's Ryan Schmelz. Meanwhile, Wall Street edged up after a worldwide rally. The Dow gained 483, the NASDAQ up 31, the S&P plus 20. The NASDAQ and S&P both reaching all-time highs. The sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, Kim Yo-sol, called peace overtures by South Korea pure deception. America's listening to Fox News.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Partly cloudy skies with us for any evening plans. There's been a couple of spot thunder showers, but they will fade away very quickly. 80s, low to mid 80s for evening plans. 68 for the overnight low. Thursday, partly sunny. Still not too bad for the month of August. 89 for the high. We'll take that. Thursday night, clear sky 71. It's coming back Friday, sunny. Back to hot and humid for the afternoon, 95. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Now, I have an interesting story that I want to share from Abigail Schreier at the Free Press coming up here in the next segment about something that they're doing in Illinois. It's one of those things that sounds maybe like a good idea because J.B. Pritzker, we were talking about him earlier, signed into law this mandatory annual mental health screening for all public school children in 3rd through 12th grades. They're the first state in the nation to require mental health screenings in public schools. And as someone who is coming off a little bit of a crisis with mental health, my instinct was say, yeah, maybe this is needed. But when you kind of dig deeper, I think Abigail makes some really good points. So we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. I have an audio cut of the day. Later in the hour, Alex Gold from across the state. He does talk radio at Kansas City 610 Sports Radio. And the Gaming Commission of Missouri is about to award the first sports betting license in the state on Friday. That does not mean that we'll be able to wager right away, but in December after Thanksgiving, I think is the goal, and we'll certainly keep you posted. We'll see what Alex knows about that. So a couple of things. We're going to welcome in Curtis Houck from the Media Research Center and Newsbusters here in a second, but let me offer a couple examples here of some good media and some bad media. So the talking points on the DC stuff got spread around very quickly.
What do you think is truly going on here with the president's fascination with quote unquote violent crime?
A relatively small crime problem is being used for specific authoritarian purposes. It's about federal overreach.
This is a power grab by a president. He has always felt that American cities, especially those with large Black populations like Washington, D.C., are crime-ridden.
Yeah, well, that's because they are, like St. Louis as well. So they're just calling out the, pulling the race card right there. Those were all the talking points. But see, look, every time I am ready to, break bad on the media and criticize them, which we do on a regular basis, something like this happens. Here's J.B. Pritzker on Meet the Press. I can't believe it, actually.
Every major group that grades the fairness of congressional maps gives your state an F. Common Cause, a nonpartisan government watchdog, even says your map, and I'm going to quote, represents a nearly perfect model for everything that can go wrong with redistricting. And I guess the question is, you talk about preserving democracy. How do you preserve democracy if you're using the same tactics that you've criticized Texas Republicans for?
But as I say, what they're talking about is a distraction. The reality is that the violation of people's voting rights is what Texas is attempting to do. That's what's wrong.
Well, he just goes on, blah, blah, blah. But Kristen Welker, the host of Meet the Press, asks at least a tough question. She's done that a few times in surprising fashion. I don't watch the show on a regular basis. You know, I still long for the days when Tim Russert was there and you could count on Tim Russert to hold both parties' feet to the fire and ask tough questions. But I mentioned Curtis Houck. He is back with us this afternoon, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. Curtis, how are you on this Wednesday afternoon?
Good to be with you, my friend. Glad to be talking to you back on the air again.
Well, I appreciate it, and I just wanted your opinion of what was happening with this, the stuff with the Texas, we're doing this with redrawing the lines here as well in Missouri. But it's interesting because there's a lot of stuff that's happened with that has been a little surprising. The media has tried to call out Pritzker and some of the others on the hypocrisy. Maybe it's just because they had to, because it was so blatantly obvious. So there have been some good examples of media behavior in the last week, I would argue.
A very low bar.
Well, that's true. That is true. Yes.
It's not a very high bar, but it's a bar nonetheless that they have at least attempted to meet. I mean, it is kind of hard to ignore when you look at, the left. They won't necessarily characterize a lot of these Democrat maps as gerrymandering. They won't use the G word. It's baby steps, Mark. We have to give them some grace. We just have to let them be a little bit, but they're getting there. You did have that question from Kristen Welker. There has been talk, what's going on in California. My friend Matt Whitlock, host of the 10-Minute Drill podcast, former Orrin Hatch staffer, did a tweet the other week pointing out, in all of these states, Massachusetts is one of my favorites. Trump got 35% of the vote in 0% of the seats. There's 9 districts, there's 0 of them. It's very easy. You can very easily draw one. Maryland in the DC area, Trump got 38% of the vote, but they only have 12% of the seats. New Mexico, 3 seats. They used to have a very solid red seat, but Democrats did this and that. And all the left has is, there's gerrymandering going on in North Dakota where there's 1 seat, or West Virginia where there's 2 seats. It's a North and South seat. This is all the left has, but of course, it's because a Republican is doing it. Now we have to have a conversation about it. I think that's obviously where the hypocrisy is. And when their answer matches Pritzker's that, it's only bad because Texans are doing it now, mid-decade, instead of at the census.
Yeah. And look, this is where I have some issues with what we're trying to do here in Missouri, but I have to go back to some of the things that you just said. You look at Illinois, which is right across the river, and the way that they cut their districts and they gerrymander beyond gerrymandering, it's Hall of Fame level. And some of these other states have done it as well. So there is an opinion amongst some Republicans here in Missouri and elsewhere to say, look, we've got the trifecta. Right. And certainly here in Missouri, we have now strong Republican control, a supermajority. You got to make use of that power when you can, because otherwise, the other side's going to do it. You had Carville out there talking about expanding the Supreme Court to 13 members, making Puerto Rico and D.C. states. And if the Democrats take control in 28 with the trifecta, you damn well know they're going to try to do that. Right.
Of course they are. We all know this. I mean, it's very simple. When they're talking about crime in D.C., that's one of the retorts that they have. Well, crime wouldn't be this way if D.C. weren't a state. Maybe if D.C. were a state and they get proper funding, then maybe this wouldn't happen. So you do have a prescription for fighting crime. You just need to throw money at it and give us 2 Democrat senators. The president had it right today when he was asked about DC statehood by my friend Mary Margaret Olhan of the Daily Wire. Trump said, no, this is ridiculous. DC is 95% Democrat. What Gavin Newsom's doing in California. I mean, Trump gets more votes in the popular vote in California than most states, ruby red states. You can thank a lot of people in California for Donald Trump's popular vote victory in November. And the idea that only 9 out of 12 or 9 out of 52 seats are currently Republicans for 40% of the vote is just simply ludicrous. But we know that Gavin Newsom and co are going to do this, but it's not going to be easy. This isn't just going to happen. They have to take it to a ballot referendum and then they go before voters. But the lesson in California, Mark, is states should be very careful about this independent commission nonsense, because independent commissions are drawing maps in states like New Jersey and California, and they're still gerrymandered to help Democrats.
You know, I love one of your, by the way, I'm gonna kind of segue to the DC crime issue, because you feature a lot of clips up there on your Twitter feed right now of our friend Scott Jennings. Scott is a personal friend. He was on the show yesterday. We're going to air his radio show starting on the 25th here on 97.1 FM Talk. He's got a new show on Salem, but good Lord, has that guy not become a rock star in the last year?
I mean, could you believe it? I mean, Scott's been working at this since, 2016, 2015 or so on CNN. And he's really paid his dues, and he's doing it right. And I love his mantra about, the revolution of common sense. And so I just love that he's bringing our voices to the table. It's so refreshing to see someone do well at one of these networks that doesn't just, say he's a Republican. It's not one of these dispatch or bulwark losers, or somebody who's kind of mealy-mouthed and just going to kind of go along to get along. No, Scott is clearly focused on representing and genuinely believes a lot of the things that the base does. I think that is just so refreshing, and it's proof that it can be done, that you can go into these arenas and constructively and civilly make points that aren't heard on these networks.
Well, and he told the story yesterday on this show, and I think he repeated it on CNN on the crime issue in particular. He saw a guy get murdered right in front of him in D.C. at Union Station.
Yeah, I remember. I think I talked to him that day. I think I was messaging with him that day that it happened, because in order for him to go from D.C. to get up to New York to do CNN Thunderdome with Abby Phillip, he's got to go to Union Station to get on the Acela, the bullet train, to go from New York to D.C. to New York. And so, yeah, it's right there. I can attest to Union Station being a complete and total disaster. So I believe it, and he's absolutely right. And the left can just mock this all they want. But this is, again, how they lost the election, by saying, no, Joe Biden's fine. No, the economy is fine, when people don't feel that way.
Yeah, I featured a cut from S.E. Cupp. That's why I slipped there, who was also on CNN, I think, with Jennings last night, where she kind of called that out and said, you can tell people this is what's happened in St. Louis as well, where they keep trying to convince people that crime is down and it's not a problem, when the reality just is the exact opposite, and people see it with their own eyes. So you have to at least be a little bit honest with people. And, along those lines, I've seen, and I played a little audio today from like Joe Scarborough and some of the people that I wouldn't expect to be chiming in on this issue. Scarborough tells a story about one of the reporters, and I don't know who he was talking about, Curtis, but somebody who said, yeah, you know what, maybe I'm not so opposed. This was off the air. Maybe I'm not so opposed to what Trump's doing because we need help, and then puts a tweet out that's exactly the opposite. And that should come as no surprise when it comes to the Washington press corps.
Yeah. I should just say that, ABC News Live anchor Kira Phillips, who's married to John Roberts over at Fox News, shared on the air, I believe on Monday, that, she's like, I've had this many colleagues had things stolen. I've had this many colleagues attacked. Just this morning, we had someone here in our bureau who was carjacked. And then David Muir and Mary Bruce come on the main newscast, ABC World News Tonight, which is the most watched newscast in America right now, and just say, no, that's not what the statistics say. Crime is way down. Someone, and the other point is, someone had a really good take the other day, which is what the left is trying to do right now is trying to say crime is good, when actually what really they're doing is crime is gone from horrible to just bad. Well, bad is still bad. Bad is still not good. And the reference point for a lot of these cities like Washington, D.C. is 2018 or 2019. We're not there yet. In a lot of these cities, we have not come down from COVID yet. And they're trying to measure based on the last year or two.
Right. But also what's happened here, and I think it's happening in DC and other big cities too, the numbers are fudged, right? We have, for example, we'll have a car lot that is, ravaged, and cars are vandalized, and, windows are broken, and there might be, 18 vehicles involved. And then that's one incident, right? So it's just one incident, and that's how it goes down in the records. So some of these numbers are fudged, and that's part of the problem that we've experienced here in St. Louis. Curtis Houck is back with us. He's the managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. Sue, wait until you hear this one. And Curtis, you broke this story to me because I saw it earlier, and I need to talk about it. Maybe I'll do this in the next segment. Are you telling me that Jussie Smollett is finally breaking his silence?
What?
And Variety magazine, which is one of the two big, you got the Hollywood Reporter, you have Variety. They did a story on Jussie Smollett, still trying to say that he wasn't guilty of his fake hate crime. This is unbelievable. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised by someone like that.
I love this one. I can't sit and tell you exactly beat by beat what happened. What? He's saying his story has not changed. What? My story, quote, has never changed.
I'm gonna read when I let you go in the next segment. We became very close with Gloria Rodriguez. Gloria Rodriguez was the attorney who represented the Osundario brothers.
Yes.
And we had the brothers on as well. And I don't know if you ever saw the documentary that was on Fox Nation. It was outstanding. And I mean, anyone with even a minuscule part of a brain, and if you know the facts of this case, would know that it's a bunch of BS, everything that comes out of Jussie Smollett's story. And by the way, that's pretty disappointing. I haven't read the story yet, but if Variety lets him get away with this crap and spread his lies, because apparently he's probably trying to make a comeback, that's just despicable.
Right. I mean, and my point too, that my flashback reason I shared this was the broadcast networks on their morning and evening newscast spent over 101 minutes peddling Jussie Smollett's nonsense before they all fell apart. And most infamously, it was Robin Roberts' tearful interview.
Yeah.
Yes, she's one of those your truth people, like truth is just kind of fungible, we can kind of make it's very malleable. And of course afterward they were like, oh, man, they just felt so betrayed, like we don't know what happened. Maybe this guy's a liar, and maybe his story about being robbed in a polar vortex where it was like literally dangerous to go outside, where like negative 20 degrees, where like if you're outside for more than a few minutes your body starts shutting down. Like, I don't know, man. This doesn't compute. But
what do you think? I mean, this is kind of on a different level. It's like the OJ thing from this standpoint psychologically. I think these guys are so demented that he must have convinced himself either this or he's just the biggest liar on the planet. It could be, but they must convince themselves that they didn't do it, because psychologically it's fascinating. I don't think you could in any way, shape, or form. And the prosecutors in Chicago finally ended up getting this, and the cops were pissed because they knew it from the beginning. Right. But they knew that the guy was guilty. It's really despicable that he never really got to serve any time in jail because they kind of let him off the hook on that deal.
And I think this goes to the larger issue that we have in our media culture, where CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, and the like, they see these culture war stories. They denounce Fox News all the time. War on Christmas, like, what are you talking about? Like, who says you can't, pray in schools and, stand proudly in the public square on your faith and not get harassed? That's just complete nonsense. It's all clickbait. And then something like this happens and they drop everything. Or, some school board member in Nevada said the N-word. What does this mean about the state of America? Like, this is what they do. They use these anecdotes, whether they're real or not, and they say this jives with how we view and what we perceive half the country to be.
And that's what happened with this situation. It took off. You have LeBron James and the usual suspects, Gavin Newsom, all these other people in Hollywood, going out there right away on Twitter, embarrassing themselves before they even know the facts. The one case that I always use as an example, and I know you're familiar with it, is the Duke BYU volleyball game from a few years ago, where there was an allegation from the Duke side of the equation that every time that one of their African-American players was serving, that the N-word was getting dropped. There were hundreds of people in the arena. Nobody caught this on camera. The reason is because it never happened, but it got out there. And I think it was the aunt of the supposed victim was running for office in Atlanta. She tweets it out. LeBron James picks up on it. They did an investigation that not only proved that there was no evidence that it happened, but it proved that there was evidence that it did not happen. But it didn't matter because all the damage was done before that. And there's nobody going back on Twitter saying, oh, you know what? I got this one wrong. I'm going to pull back that tweet.
It's very similar to what you have, where it just rings true. It is true. And it's the Russiagate story
yeah.
as well.
There you go.
know, the narrative, once a narrative sets in the minds of the American people, it is very hard to change.
Mike
someone's
Brown, we
views.
just had the anniversary of Ferguson. It's the same thing here. There's still people walking around our community here that think it was a kid that got shot with his hands up and said, "Don't shoot." It's unbelievable. Curtis, always great to hook up with you. Always awesome to have you highlight the media nonsense out there at the Media Research Center. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. You have a great week.
Yeah, no problem. Looking forward to your segment on the mental health screenings. This is, that's interesting.
I may skip that and do Jussie and wait till tomorrow, because now that you put that on my radar, I got to dig into that story. But I'm going to get to the mental health thing in Illinois for sure in the next couple of days. Thank you, Curtis Houck.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
School is back in session for a lot of people, and traffic is just heavier than it has been in a while. Eastbound 270 still slow, although a little bit better, headed for the Chain of Rocks Bridge. Westbound traffic on 70 jams, headed for Jennings Station Road. Little volume past the airport and in pockets 370. Out through the 70-64 split. Westbound 364 was slowing at 94. Westbound 40 lines up Kings Highway. Now, this is in pockets, but it goes out through 270, and it's slow through Chesterfield Valley and again Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Northbound 170 slowing at 70. Southbound slowing at 64. 44 is a slow go in Webster. And we've got volume on southbound 55 headed for Bates. Also eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge. It's a slow go headed into Illinois. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, always rave reviews for the team at Morelli Tuck Pointing. For example, Dr. Evelyn, who says Morelli's crew did an excellent job tuck pointing at my veterinary hospital. A previous contractor got in over his head, but Morelli saved the day. Very grateful. Here's another one from Chuck that says Morelli Tuck Pointing is super to work with, and they're truly a first-class operation. Their work is excellent, on time. They left the work site extremely clean. I will recommend them to anyone seeking their work. You will not be disappointed. And then Barry says Morelli's Tuck Pointing work was timely, professional, competent, and thorough. The crew worked well as a team with a strong work ethic from start through cleanup. Their bid was far lower and reasonable, honest and fair than any of the other competitors out there. And he was working on tuck pointing 100-year-old brick chimney, and they did outstanding work. That's the kind of quality and professionalism you're going to get from the masonry specialists here in St. Louis. You don't need to turn anywhere else. Start with Morelli Tuck Pointing. They're online at MorelliTuckPointing.com or call 314-645-1387. Do me a huge favor. Tell them that I sent you over. Morelli Tuck Pointing.
Hey, it's Annie with my friend Stewie, and you know Stewart's American Mortgage and the Bagel Loan gets you your mortgage or your refinance at no closing costs. And I have Stewie with me right now. You're all about saving people money. Fiscal responsibility is really in right now, and you've got something up your sleeve for these folks.
You know what, Annie? Some people like to get better cash flow. Other people just want to pay off all their debt. So we're going to do something very, very unique. In Scotland, it was traditional to paint the door red once you paid off your mortgage. So we're going to give you the Red Bagel Challenge. If you refinance with us and you consolidate your debt and you get your mortgage paid off in half the period of time remaining, we're going to give you a $1,000 bonus at the end of that term.
Well, Stewie's all about helping you build your wealth and build equity, and the Bagel Loan is another way to do it. Remember, no closing costs with the Bagel Loan. Reach out to Stewie directly with 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. You can Google Bagel Loan for more information, and MLS number 226715.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Well, few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation today. 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters. BannerConstruction.com.
That baby's gone!
Cardinals fans, FanDuel Sports Network is your home of the Cardinals.
That ball was mashed.
And there are more ways to watch this season.
Holy cow!
Subscribe directly to FanDuel Sports Network to stream the Cardinals without blackouts.
How about that play?
Or watch through a TV provider.
Incredible!
Including DirecTV, Spectrum, Xfinity, Fubo, and more.
He got it!
Learn more at cardinals.com/TV.
Ball game! It couldn't have worked out any better for the Cardinals. Brotherhood of Rock. Now they celebrate 25 years. Styx. Kevin Cronin, former lead singer of REO Speedwagon. Special guest Don Felder, formerly of the Eagles. Friday, August 22nd, Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Styx, Kevin Cronin, Don Felder, Brotherhood of Rock.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
Yeah, I'm watching this show on Apple TV Plus, which is called Smoke, and I have mixed feelings about it. I'm up to the finale, which is going to come out this Friday, and it actually has gotten better as the season's gone along. But I noticed that the one of the stars of the show is named Jurnee Smollett, Jurnee, and it's Jussie Smollett's sister. And I swear I cannot even believe this. I mentioned Gloria Rodriguez, who represented the Osundario brothers. She produced, and they did an amazing documentary that should have been on more than just Fox Nation. And you've cheated yourself if you haven't watched this. But now Variety has done a piece on his return. And I guess what's going to happen, Sue, is there's a new documentary that's coming out on Netflix on the 22nd of this month called The Truth About Jussie Smollett. And it features interviews with him. He says, and this is what the Variety story says.
Insane.
It is insane. We've got to get Gloria on to talk about this. He basically says the brothers lied about all this. He still had a hate crime that was perpetrated on him, and everyone else made it up. He says that the Chicago establishment conspired to frame him. Every race baiter in the country was on his side until the facts actually came out and we knew what happened.
That is correct.
Right? Why would the Chicago PD, and he blames Rahm Emanuel, who, by the way, is running for president, I'm pretty sure. Why would they do this? He answers the question with two questions. Could it be, Sue, that they had just found out about the missing minutes and the missing tape from the murder of Laquan McDonald? So Laquan McDonald was, we talked about this case quite a bit. He says, could it be that the mayor helped hide that? That was the case of a cop that killed this black teenager, and it prompted the feds to kind of come in and required the Chicago Police Department to do a bunch of reforms. And this was right after the Smollett thing. Now, when the video finally came out about Laquan McDonald, it was pretty clear that the kid had a gun and the cops were justified. But he likes to, spin it in another way. He goes, we're living in a world where the higher ups, their main mission in order to do all the underhanded things that they're doing is to distract us with the shiny object. So they go through, the story in the Variety piece saying his career came to a halt after two Nigerian American brothers began cooperating with authorities, claiming that they carried out the attack at Smollett's behest. Though the charges against him were initially dropped, they were refiled a year later, remember, and that was the conviction. He was convicted of 5 felony counts 3 years later, and this is where it gets disappointing because he was supposed to do some, hard jail time, prison time, and he didn't because the Supreme Court of Illinois came in and they reversed the sentence on a technicality. But now in Variety, it says he's getting worked up as he holds fast to his original story that 2 MAGA supporters wearing masks shouted racist and homophobic slurs at him before putting a noose around his neck and splashing him with bleach on a frigid night. He is speaking via Zoom from London, and I could go on here, but here's what I will tell you. What they say in this story is he won't directly criticize the brothers who wrote the book Bigger Than Justice, the disturbing need for a modern day lynching. So he's not addressing that. But everywhere that I've kind of zipped through this story here, there is no attempt in the Variety story to offer the facts of what really happened. I mean, how can you do a story about this guy and do a comeback and, talk about everything that happened with the show Empire? He was making a fair amount of money. He didn't return for the 6th season. His agents dropped him, but now he's doing a press tour because he's got an album coming out. And I guess this documentary, I don't know how directly involved in the documentary, but I do want to watch it. All they say is that he dances around the Chicago baggage on the night in question. The Netflix documentary, with its tease that Smollett might be innocent, also doesn't seem sure, thus the question mark in the title. Smollett participated in the 90-minute feature from the producers of the Tinder Swindler. I don't know that that title, but he hasn't seen the finished product. Still, if exculpatory evidence exists, why didn't it emerge sooner? So that's the only way that they address the factoids of this. And he says this is his answer. To be honest with you, I don't really know. I'm not an investigative reporter or a detective. I can't sit and tell you exactly beat by beat what happened. I can only tell you what did not happen. And what did not happen is the story that's been out there for almost 7 years that I somehow would have even had a reason to do something as egregious as this. But it did happen, Jussie, and we all know it happened. And I cannot believe that they're giving him, in a major trade publication. And look, this is good for Netflix because people are going to watch the doc. Now, I will say, maybe, just maybe, you'll have the documentary again because there is a question mark that's in the title. I don't know that they've seen it at Variety. Maybe they do tell the facts here, and I don't know if the brothers are interviewed, but that is outrageous. And I was just thinking about him because you weren't in here at the beginning of the segment, but I'm watching this show on Apple TV Plus, which is called Smoke. And one of the stars is named Journey Smollett. And I kept meaning to look up if that was related to Jussie, and it is. It's his sister. She's actually very good in it. But good Lord, now we're on to Jussie Smollett trying to make a comeback. I've already sent this story to Fred because Gloria Rodriguez, who was the attorney for the brothers and produced that documentary on Fox Nation, became one of our favorite people.
Yes.
And you know how Gloria talks. I can hear Gloria laughing in my head right now about this documentary. So we're going to get her on tomorrow or Monday. She's an attorney and she is a practicing attorney that's very busy. But I got to talk to her about this and this comeback attempt for sure.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've kind of got back to school traffic today, and it's a shock to us all, believe me, even me. There is a stall, maybe mostly me, westbound 70 before Adelaide. Watch for that in the left lane. We've got plenty of volume through there. Westbound 70 slow, headed for Jennings Station Road in general. Moderate volume past the airport. 64 is a slow go. And it's Kings Highway out to McCausland, a little bit of Lindbergh, a little bit of Clarkson, and through Chesterfield Valley. Slow pockets out through 70. Southbound 270, moderate volume from Olive through Doherty Ferry. We've got heavy traffic eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge and on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 between 157 and 159. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. Barron Mirror Glass and Door has the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs. It's in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one who lives with you. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care, helping you with preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid weekly. This Medicaid program is available to eligible St. Louis residents. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 7,000 five-star Google reviews, we've perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. If you live in the St. Louis area, this service is available through Medicaid. And with our InstaPay app, caregivers can choose to get paid weekly. So go to freedomcare.com now, or for faster service, call 314-697-4912. 314-697-4912. That's 314-697-4912.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. I am quite aware of the dangers being on the road. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. These families' lives will be changed in an instant. We fight for these families as if they were our own. We've become America's largest injury law firm by winning cases just like these. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin deficiencies. Now they're offering specialty cardiovascular testing and even early detection cancer screening. Visit them at one of their 4 great locations, now in Sunset Hills, Town and Country, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show at 5:36, sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Midwest Made. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, I have audio cut of the day coming up here. We have a really, really good set of audio clips from John Oliver, who ripped into Chuck Schumer because Chuck Schumer has for decades told the story of a family that doesn't really exist. And it's coming from an odd source, John Oliver, because he's certainly not on the right. But the storytelling involved is exceptionally good. And if you were with us at the start of the show, you've already heard this. But if you didn't hear it, you're going to want to hear it because it's pretty epic audio. That's why it qualifies for audio cut of the day. Look, the Missouri Gaming Commission is finally going to award the first sports betting licenses in the state on Friday. I believe that the Secretary of State, Denny Hoskins, has slow-rolled this a little bit too much. But even though the ballot measure passed last November, you will finally be able to do some regular sports wagering in Missouri by the end of the year. December, I think, is the window. Alex Gold with Kansas City 610 Sports Radio, who's been awesome on this topic, back with us this afternoon. Hey, Alex, how are you? How's everything going?
I'm doing great, Mark. Yeah, I'm doing great. Appreciate you guys having me on.
So this is really kind of just another step to get people to the point where they can, legally do this in Missouri. It's still going to take a few months, but it's a good step, right?
It is, a little bit more insight on exactly with who you'll be able to bet. What I mean by that is this week you mentioned Friday is when the first 2 untethered licenses are going to be issued. And for those that don't know, that basically means the provider would be able to get 100% of the revenue, right, other than what the tax dollars would be. So you have FanDuel, DraftKings, and Circa Sports, which is out of Vegas, which is certainly the smaller of the 2 that I mentioned, or the 3 that I mentioned, I should say. They're trying to get the untethered license so they don't have to partner with a casino, let's say, in Missouri and basically split the revenue. That's why these 2 untethered licenses are so important. But really, doesn't mean that Circa or whoever loses out, doesn't mean that they won't operate in Missouri and have a license. They just want these because they can obviously not have to split the revenue.
So that's interesting. So that's why it's being done. Now, would you agree with me? I think we've talked about this before, that the Secretary of State, who doesn't seem to be a big fan of this, even though it passed, hasn't been exactly rushing to get it across the finish line.
No question. Yeah, I mean, we were on, I think, a couple months ago talking about this, that technically this really should have been something that was in line to start up, in September or right around Labor Day. The reason why we're talking about a December 1 at the latest, and most likely right then, honestly, probably on December 1, is because some things were done to make sure it took a little bit longer, even though we're ending up with the exact same result in Missouri.
So I am a sports wagering fan. We've talked about this before. I send money, and I'll start doing this here in the NFL season. We don't do a lot. We don't get crazy, but we do a few parlays on an NFL Sunday or maybe college football. And I Venmo to my friend out in Vegas, which is one of the reasons it's so frustrating we can't do it here. For me, it's a freedom issue. I want to be allowed to do this. But obviously, there's risk involved with any kind of wagering. And I'm guessing you saw the story about Michael Porter Jr. and what he said on this podcast about sports wagering. Have you checked that out?
I did. Absolutely.
So Michael Porter Jr., who for like one game or maybe 2 minutes of a game for Mizzou played, and Jonte, his brother, played for Mizzou. So his younger brother, Jonte, was banned from the NBA because he was and he admitted in court that he removed himself from 2 games during the 23-24 season to benefit people who had bet on the under on his stats. And he said he did it because he was trying to pay off gambling debts. So now his brother, who was recently traded to the Brooklyn Nets in the offseason, talked about this on this podcast this week. And he said, look, this is going to get worse. He said, think about it. If you could get all your homies rich by telling them, yo, bet $10,000 on my under in this one game, I'm going to act like I've got an injury. I'm going to sit out. I'm going to come out after 3 minutes, and they'll all get a little bag because you did it one game. Michael Porter Jr. said that is so not okay, but some people probably think like that. They come from nothing, and all their homies have nothing. I mean, he's kind of calling it like he sees it, and I don't know that he's wrong. There are risks involved. The leagues all know this. It's a great thing that they called out, Jonte, and they got him convicted of this because they had to crack down. But I'm not so sure that Michael Porter Jr. is wrong about all this.
No, he's not wrong. I mean, this is the biggest fear of all these pro leagues, is that something like that will impact their league, or there'll be other instances of it. You referenced the Jonte Porter situation. There have been others. Major League Baseball right now is investigating one of the closers, Manuel Clase for the Cleveland Guardians.
Yep.
He's alleged perhaps to have intentionally, thrown some balls, literally first pitch, ball versus strike. And the tricky part is these particular, really what would they call micro bets. They're, first pitch, striker, ball, or unders obviously are way more easy to manipulate than an over. I can't force myself to make 10 threes, but I can make sure I don't even attempt enough threes to make it, to get to 10. I think what we're going to see, and I believe the state of Ohio just introduced a bill, or at least a discussing one, where we could see some limitations with these micro bets, or at least the ability to bet on unders, because there is certainly the ability to manipulate it more. Now, I think, Michael Porter Jr. used $10,000 as an example. For those that bet on a regular basis, they'll know most books, good luck finding a book that's going to take your $10,000 bet on a player prop under that's not, LeBron James or somebody like that. It's just not a very common number. But no, this is the fear, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see some cracking down on the smaller micro bets to prevent stuff like this from happening.
And by the way,
but I'll point out,
I'm fine with that. I'm okay. I think some of this does need to potentially be adjusted. So I'm fine if that's where we're going to head on that.
100% with you. I was just going to say, the interesting thing will be how much does it get, limited, going forward. But I think the players that have gotten caught so far, that's somewhat a little bit of an example of why, the legalized marketplace is important. You referenced, sending money to a buddy on Venmo or whatever. If you were betting offshore, you're not catching Emmanuel Clase, let's say, if he did what they allege he did. These offshore books don't care. If you're betting with any of them stateside, they have quality control algorithms basically that detect irregular betting. And so that's why I think it is good that Missouri is legalizing this.
Hey, while I have you here, Alex Gold, give me some encouragement about the Chiefs training camp and what's going on there.
Well, the best news, if you're trying to figure out, will they finally have a left tackle for Patrick Mahomes? It looks promising. Josh Simmons was their first-round draft pick, and the big question on draft night, Mark, was will he be available for camp? Is he recovering from that patellar tendon injury that he suffered in October? And the answer is he didn't miss a single bit of training camp. He looks healthy. He looks the part. Patrick Mahomes the other day in an interview says, he's got a chance to maybe be one of the best left tackles in football. If they have actually found a left tackle for a team that has had 5 different left tackles start in all 5 of these Super Bowls, it is a huge development for this front office to finally have figured that out, and they can focus on some other areas moving forward. So that's the number one positive out of camp, no question.
What is the situation with Rashee Rice? Because there was maybe in the last few days some questions about an injury issue, but there's also an expectation that he might be suspended for some period of time at the beginning of the season for the incident that and I don't even know where that is, because he's been sentenced to something, but he can do the jail time whenever he wants to, I guess, right? What's the story on that?
Yes. So he pled guilty to 2 felonies, and he does have to serve 30 days in jail at some point in the next 5 years. I don't know how that's going to be split
Pretty
up.
generous, right?
If he's going to go all, I don't know if he's going to do all 30. If he's going to do weekend jail for. I honestly don't know how that exactly will work. But as far as the football end of it, you're right. I mean, we should find out any day now what that suspension is going to look like. He will be suspended at some point this year, and it'll likely begin week 1. You know, I have said on my show locally, 4 to 6 games is the range I expect.
Wow.
But the NFL, quite honestly, kind of does their own thing here. Could it be 8 games instead? It absolutely could be. But I think the Chiefs will be without Rashee Rice for at least 4 games this upcoming season.
And I understand, I read something even in the last couple of days, I think it was The Athletic this morning or yesterday, that there's some pretty healthy competition for these wide receivers that might have to step in and step up their game if Rice is out.
You know, there's been some promising guys on the back end. You know, we're talking about wide receiver 5 or 6, for example. A name like Tyquan Thornton is not a household name, but he's looked really good at camp. He's gotten some reps with the number 1 team. And so he's someone that could help them out in his absence. You have even somebody in a preseason game like Jason Brownlee, who is out of nowhere, who might end up making this team. And that's where you get into, you know, Sky Moore not making the team and turning into a guy they drafted a couple of years ago that will go from that to not making the team. Even Nico Remigio is someone that maybe is in danger of not making the team. So it's further down the roster. I still think, you know, the key is going to be Hollywood Brown being healthy for week 1 to go with Xavier Worthy.
Alex, I cannot freaking wait for NFL football. I've watched
Let's go, man.
an embarrassing amount of preseason football because I can't wait. I usually don't, but I've been watching it just because I'm so starved. I'm watching Quarterback on Netflix. I'm watching Hard Knocks. I cannot wait for this season to start here in a few weeks. And the Chiefs open on that Friday night, don't they?
In Brazil against the Chargers. Big time game.
It's going to be awesome. We'll talk leading up to that. Thank you, Alex Skoll. Good to hook up with you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got volume out there this afternoon. And if you're on the Illinois side, eastbound 64 is still lined up, 157 to 159. We've got westbound 40 slowing Kings Highway out through McCausland, but it's also a little off the pace at 270 and through Chesterfield Valley and further to the west even at the 64 split. There is an accident on southbound 141, and it's south of Fiedler. It's just before Romaine Creek, and this is causing a massive jam. We've got 44 slow in the Webster area, 70 moderate volume at Jennings Station Road and past the airport, but it is slow out at Highway A. Some moderate volume 55 right around Bates. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Point Pest Control is reminding you it's time to spray for mosquitoes. How can something that tiny interrupt your outside gatherings? Have Point Pest Control spray today so your next outside gathering is mosquito-free. 636-798-0023. Mention Annie to save an additional 10%. PointPestControl.com.
There was an article, I think I referenced it in our local paper in the last couple of days about the utility rates that are going up across the board. I mean, you have inflation, then you have utility rates that are really, really skyrocketing. It's just like a tax. But I want to give you some utility independence here with the recommendation that you get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. They're in Chesterfield. There is a store on the airport road. You can swing by in person, or I'm going to give you the phone number and the website here in a second. If you're away from home and the power goes out, you don't have to worry. It's going to kick right back in if you're worried about the power grid failing. And let's face it, it has failed across the planet. It failed in Portugal and Spain a few months back when I was in Greece. We've had situations in Texas, of course, that have been pretty serious. We know the infrastructure. And by the way, one of the reasons that the rates are going up is because they need to upgrade the infrastructure. So don't put yourself at risk. The power grid is old. It could be an ice storm in the winter or a tornado here, or just an accident that happens in the neighborhood and takes a transformer out. Stop by the showroom or call for a free estimate. They have financing available. Do the right thing. Do not wait for the next storm or outage. Call Generator Supercenter of St. Louis, 314-499-2020, Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
Scott Jennings here. I'm excited to be part of the St. Louis conservative conversation, cutting through the noise with unfiltered common sense. Catch the Scott Jennings Show weekdays at 8 p.m. starting August 25th on 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. If you want immediate cash for your home or to see what your home is actually worth in today's market, find out for free from the local experts. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at LanceDruryLaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
He's Donald Trump's #1 enemy in Congress, Chicago Senator Dick Durbin. And now Dick Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, consumers have thousands of choices in credit cards, all with equal, strong security. But Durbin's plan is less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and your identity. Tell Republicans in Congress, stop Dick Durbin's takeover of your credit card before it's too late.
Paid for by Electronic Payments Coalition.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Fast-paced, fact-based, and never boring. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
All right, I got to get right to audio cut of the day because this is a good one here this afternoon.
Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
And it comes from an unlikely source. This is John Oliver, used to host The Daily Show. He's got his show on HBO, and he went after the former Senate Majority Leader, the current Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, pretty big name in politics. And we've heard, criticisms about Donald Trump exaggerating stories and other politicians that make things up. Kamala was called out a little bit during the campaign. But listen to this from John Oliver. And again, a very unlikely suspect going after Chuck Schumer.
I actually want to talk less about Chuck Schumer himself and more about two of his favorite people, Joe and Eileen Bailey. They're a couple that throughout Schumer's career, he has talked about a lot. The Baileys have guided Chuck Schumer's political life, which is a little weird given they don't exist. Seriously, he invented them. Schumer's given the Baileys an unnecessarily detailed backstory.
Yeah, we talked about this with Brian Kilmeade a couple hours ago because they're apparently from Massapequa. That's where Brian is from and lives. And Chuck Schumer, over the decades, I mean, this has been going on for a long time. He's just made this family up.
They're a middle-class couple in Massapequa, which is a suburb on Long Island. Joe and Eileen Bailey, this middle-class couple, they bought into Reagan Republicanism in 1980. Joe and Eileen are worried about losing their jobs or their friends' jobs. The Baileys really don't believe in trickle-down. They don't believe in a whole lot of government spending, but they believe in tax breaks for kids to go to college. He's an insurance adjuster and lives in the New York suburbs. By New York standards, he makes $50,000 a year. If he lived in the middle of the country, he'd make $40,000. Wife works in a medical office. She makes about $20,000. She might make $15,000 elsewhere. And, I have guided my political life through the Baileys.
Yeah, very interesting. Lots of details, except they don't exist.
Schumer first introduced the world to the Baileys in his 2007 book, Positively American, Winning Back the Middle-Class Majority, One Family at a Time. In it, he mentions the Baileys an astonishing 265 times in 264 pages. But he'd apparently been talking about them for years before the book was published. One of his former spokespeople said he's always asking, what would the Baileys think? And to be fair, Schumer acknowledges that some may find this a little weird.
Yeah, so check this out.
Ask my staff. I've been talking about and talking to the Baileys for 15 years. I have conversations with them. One of my staffers once said I had imaginary friends to the press. Got me in some trouble. But these people are real, and I respect them, and I really love them, and I care about them.
Okay, sure, but they're literally not real, Chuck. But Even if you can understand the potential utility of creating a prototypical voter in your head, this goes way beyond that, because Schumer's given the Baileys an unnecessarily detailed backstory. For instance, he said Joe takes off his cap and sings along with the national anthem before the occasional Islanders game. Okay.
And there's more.
Joe takes off his cap and sings along with the national anthem before the occasional Islanders game.
Hang on, there's more here.
Okay. And when
We'll
they
repeat.
talked to Meghan, oh yeah, they've got kids, by the way, told Eileen a friend was caught cheating on a quiz. Eileen was appalled because lying is not tolerated in the house ever. Also, Eileen apparently helps with the clothing drive at her church, and her father had a prostate cancer scare a few years ago. Again, this is a made-up family. None of these people exist.
It's unbelievable. It really is. And for John Oliver to go after him, and I said this earlier, in a fair media world, this would be a story that the New York Times should cover.
Yeah, it would.
Or at least the New York Post. But we'll see what happens. He went off on them the other night on his show. I loved it. That's why it was your audio cut of the day for this Wednesday afternoon. Have a great night. We're back at it at 3 tomorrow.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we are thinning out, but we still have more volume than usual. Don't forget about that accident on southbound 141 approaching Romaine Creek. A real jam going behind that. Westbound 40 out of downtown. Kings Highway out through McCausland is a slowdown. Moderate volume right at 270 and a little bit through Chesterfield Valley. 70 slowing at Jennings Station Road and at K, but it's not bad. If you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the bridges, a little slow eastbound at the 70 split, and then 64 has some volume. 157 out to 159, all due to road work. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out, windows, siding, kitchens, baths, and outdoor spaces. And they give you quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella Window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
Rascal Flats, Life is a Highway Tour 2026. Saturday, January 17th, Enterprise Center.
I like the sound of that.
Country music's greatest vocal group, Rascal Flats.
I like the sound of
Back on the road. With special guests, Chris Lane and Lauren Elena. On sale Friday, 10 a.m. online at livenation.com. Rascal Flats Live.
Like I said before, tariffs had absolutely zero effect on our equipment pricing. No manufacturer raised their prices. What has affected the pricing is the previous 4 years of these ridiculous mandates. I mean, I say ridiculous, it's shameful. But that being said, if you're told that you need a new system, or your air conditioner is bad, or you're looking to replace your system, if you want a common sense approach which works for you, your family, and your budget. When I say your budget, it never is